Hello! Welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is Richie Richey of the MHRT Network. Over directly to my right is Coach Defense of the Lockdown Defense Podcast Network. Staple show every Tuesday with Coach Kurt. This week would have been no different. I highly encourage those, even if you are not a Chargers fan, to jump on over. He talks a whole bunch of other sports, not just football, but of course he does delve into his Chargers. I couldn't fully, get that out.
But I understand.
Yeah. But all into the NBA and all that kind of stuff. And he does like to delve around the league as well and start talking about other divisions and players, just an all-around football fan. So as a football fan, for all of us here, you should definitely check his channel out. Subscribe if you haven't and set those little notification bells. Also, guys, in the description down below, you will note all of our channels and links are there, including hats like the one that I am wearing here and ones with the awesome logo for the show. You can get that as well. Another quick thing, if you are on Twitter, you'll see a banner here soon.
What? If you're on what?
It's X, baby.
I refuse to call it X. I refuse. No, just kidding.
If you're
on X,
get with it.
The former bird.
Yes. So the bird has died.
Not that bird.
No, those are birds. But anyways, the former bird has died and is now X. The sad news is that the streaming and comment flow on that particular platform has not been fixed as part of the rebrand. So if you're on X and are watching the stream live there, thank you. But please jump over to YouTube or Facebook because we'd love to hear from you and interact with your questions and comments and all that.
Get off your ass and get on the real thing, YouTube.
What he said.
Sure.
Sorry.
And down directly below is Captain Jack of the Captain Jack Rackham YouTube channel. Shows just a lot of them. And you can check him out regularly. Likes to cover everything Raiders, and in the offseason delves into just about every other sport with the exception of the WNBA. See what I did there, Coach? That was tying back in from last show.
I was going to say, I actually talked about the WNBA because the Aces are owned by Mark Davis, so there you go.
And they're like 20.
And that's the reason Darren Waller got out of there, right? He got out of their game. He's just hanging out.
Well, his wife plays with him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So some guy whose name I don't remember anymore goes to the game because his wife Kelsey Plum plays for the Aces. So,
man, if they have kids, those kids are going to be ginormous. Can you imagine? It'll be like the first 7 foot tall tight end.
The Fluff King is here.
Don't fluff your meat. Don't fluff your meat. Don't fluff your meat.
I saw, yeah.
That block of the show deserves so many YouTube shorts.
It's too many.
It's just so good. That's great. I'm not gonna lie. Yes, that's gold. That's TV gold right there.
And then I saw it and I brought because I didn't get it on Wednesday because I had something, but on Thursday, the very next day, I definitely made sure I had some
we saw the tweet.
Cheddars, the doubles. Yeah, and because on Friday I showed the actual
we know
beef and cheddar.
Yeah.
So I told you I'd get some.
Yeah. Not fluffed naturally.
Exactly, not fluffed.
Yes.
Don't fluff the meat, man. Don't fluff the
right.
meat.
And of course, down directly below here, just in time, and I'm glad you just absolutely just missed this conversation, Alex. We have the real Alex Givens from Arrowhead Addict. Checking his content there. Honestly, I've been there quite a few times. Alex's articles are far and away the best. They're super super well written, and that's
So sweet.
No, seriously, I think there's so many of these articles that are written all the same. They're basically written by an English major who just pumps out internet content, and they follow the same template over and over again. I do find your content, you're actually trying to get a point across. So rather than write the content in structure, you're actually trying to get an actual point across to the audience. And I think that really is what separates your stuff from others. And I think that's a good thing. So thank you for being here. And that was as about high praise as you're going to get from me when it comes to written content.
Yeah, I know. It's all down.
Yeah.
You're softening me up for later.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, that's the
talking about softening up and fluffing meat. This is going off. This is starting off well.
Yeah. So we got a great show for everyone tonight. We got three main things to go over, all really relevant both for our teams and just around the NFL. First is we're going to talk about camp news, updates, player updates, that kind of stuff. Then we're going to go right down the rabbit hole and start discussing player integrity and gambling in the NFL, which obviously has unique implications for the Broncos this year, which I do want to get into and kind of go down that road. And then the last but not least, again, really does hit home, particularly for several of the teams here, which is the running back market. What to do, what to expect, and perhaps get your comments and suggestions in terms of what you guys all think. Not obviously the guys here are going to talk, but we want to hear from you, the fans of the show, in terms of your thoughts and suggestions on that as well. So stick around to the end of the show where we get into the running back stuff. And without further ado, we're going to get into camp news and updates from Coach, who is wearing the Mike Kelly Chargers jersey number 10. Coach, thanks for volunteering to go first to talk about the Chargers news.
Mike Kelly. Who the hell is Mike Kelly?
Mike Lowry.
Right. Mike Kelly. This is Justin Herbert's jersey.
Mike Lowry. Mike Lowry.
This is Justin Herbert's jersey. You know.
Herbo.
Justin
Again?
Herbert. So
who?
It's the highest paid QB in the league.
Yes.
I don't know him.
A healthy quarterback. How about that? Did that ring a bell? A healthy quarterback? Somebody can pass a physical without help? You know.
Yeah, we got one.
Yeah. What, you mean your backup?
No, we got quarterbacks to pass physicals.
Barely. Okay.
We got. In fact, we got a couple quarterbacks to pass physicals.
So Mike Kelly played for you in 1992.
Don't make me spit my stuff at you because it'll get on my.
So
Okay.
Mike Kelly played in 3
Who's
games.
this Mike Kelly guy?
He's a quarterback.
I don't know. Maybe it's a Canadian L. I don't know. He's fascinated with Mike Kelly. But
What wasn't that Jim Kelly? Wasn't that Jim Kelly's nephew that went to like one of
that
the
was Chad Kelly.
He was on the Broncos.
And he was on the Broncos. And he was absolutely defeated by a Dyson vacuum.
I'm here to tell you right now.
Okay. Well, I knew there was a Kelly.
We don't care. We don't care. Anyway, Justin Herbert's jersey is who I'm wearing.
We talk about practice. We talk about practice.
Highest paid
Not
quarterback in the NFL.
Not
highest
a game.
paid quarterback in the NFL.
Practice.
$262.5 million a year extension for over 5 years. Deeply deserved.
And how much of that are you getting?
I'm getting zero. Just like you're getting zero from any Raiders player. Any Raiders player.
We got cash. We talking cash money, man. Cash.
$262.5 million a year. 5 million extension. Are you done? Okay. All right. All right. So like I said, Justin Herbert signed his extension less than 24 hours ago. For the moment, for maybe 2 minutes, he's the highest paid quarterback in the league.
was gonna say
5
Joe
years.
Burrow, right?
Till Joe Burrow signs this deal, because it's going to be at least half $500,000 above, whatever Justin Herbert has right now. At least that. Maybe a no franchise tag and no trade clause, whatever bells and whistles you want to add on to it, just to make it just that skosh better than what Justin Herbert got. But again, for the Chargers, very big W for us. Getting our quarterback signed for the next 5 years. Outside of this year, he's on his 4th year of his deal. 5-year option was initiated but I believe they renegotiated that, so he's only signed through 2029, so he can renegotiate or resign by the time he's 30. So that's definitely good news. Yeah, exactly. He's getting at least 2, if not 3, depending on how long he wants to play.
Is he getting like $100 million the first year?
He is. I didn't get a chance to respond to your message earlier, but yes, he is $100 million in the first year of his contract. Ironically, I talked about this on my show last night in short order, and I want to say this, that it's something that it was very profound that we brought up last night, is the fact that Justin Herbert signing this deal, and there was a tweet going around at one point in time, or currently, the Chargers have had the highest paid defensive end, highest paid center, the highest paid safety, and or the highest paid quarterback. And you look at the type of money that the Chargers have dealt out in the past 4 to 5 years, right? This all is clear and cut reason why you moved to LA.
Yeah.
This type of money in this type of market is not, to spend this kind of money is not available to you in San Diego. Now, I know a lot of Chargers fans are having a lot of angst about, the move from San Diego to LA, but you understand from a business standpoint, above and beyond the idea that the city did not want to capitulate to helping build the stadium, you have to understand that they moved to LA for more than just the simple fact that they didn't want to build them a stadium. They moved to be more competitive in the NFL. They moved to be more relevant and to be able to generate more revenue in a bigger city, in a bigger market. So being in LA is clearly paying off. You have your franchise quarterback signed. You have the best safety in the league signed. You have one of the best or 2 best edge rushers on your team. Great wide receiver group. I mean, all this is possible because you moved to this particular market and sharing a stadium with the Rams. So, again, I love the move. It was a foregone conclusion. I think we all agree with that. And I feel like, it's one of those things where you have to be mindful that, how they structured the deal is still beneficial for the team perspective, because he's saving money incrementally on his cap number, how they structured it. So that was a good look as well. So as far as him still being able to, save money for weapons and talent around him is something that I definitely saluted as well for them getting that done. Is in regards to his lineage. He was a Chargers fan as a kid, growing up. He always wanted to be a Chargers fan, so this is a dream come true for him. He's super excited. All his pressers after he signed the deal or the deal was announced were very supportive, and he was, as the latest as a serious man can be in regards to how he wanted to be a Charger for life. So it's definitely a good look in regards to him being our franchise quarterback for the foreseeable future. So definitely we got that done, and allowed the fact there won't be a distraction throughout camp, because everybody's buzzing. There was a tweet going around that said the Bengals and the Chargers were both kind of waiting on each other to see who's going to sign first. So the Chargers just went ahead and did it. It was funny. Ian Rappaport was spotted by the Chargers Twitter in the building the day before it happened, and everybody just assumed Herbert's deal was coming, because why else would Ian Rappaport be in the Chargers facility? We don't really see him. So, he was there, so we kind of was rumors buzzing about that. So glad it got done. And we're definitely looking forward to, see what he can do with a healthy roster and healthy receiving core this year. And more news in regards to camp, J.C. Jackson ahead of schedule was on the field today doing 7-on-7 drills. So that was definitely a good sign that he's trending in the right direction to be ready early on in the season. Much like, much other guys that are working themselves back from injury, I would not rush him, based upon how gruesome his injury was. And I think Brandon Staley alluded to this in his presser, that he did not feel like he was game ready at this moment. But, we're in July. We got about 6 weeks before a real game is played. So that bodes well for the idea. He's not on the PUP list. He's not on the physically unable to perform on a non football injury list or whatever those lists they have. They got like 10,000 lists now about where they put people on, in regards to who can't practice, right? But he wasn't on the physically unable to perform list, so that's good news. He's running, he's doing drills, he looks strong. Still looking for, that burst that we used to accustomed to him having, so him go full out. But I think they're working it back slow. But it's good to see. It's definitely ahead of schedule. Much to Javonte Williams' surprises to the news I broke as well yesterday, him being ready and being early on in his gruesome knee injury. So there's definitely some good medicine out there, some good rehab, some good physical therapy going on out there somewhere, because these guys are definitely projecting to be ready faster than we all thought. So it was good to see JC Jackson on the field as well. Some good spirit practices. Thankfully, no injuries, no bangs, no nicks. A couple of people who are working themselves back from injury as well, still on the pup list. Atito Ojinobi, he's on the list. Jalen Guyton, and a few other people, but nothing heart wrenching right now. They're working themselves back, and they got hurt later on in the year than JC did. So it's a work of progress. But overall in the training camp, this particular last few days has been good. Like I said, we got all the distractions out of the way. And it's time to play football. That's what it boils down to. So I'm definitely loving the fact that Herbert signed, no distractions, and it's time to play football. The only thing we really worried about, which is really not a story at this moment because it's kind of got ironed out, is Austin Eckler thing. And what we're going to talk about with running backs later, but the meetings that they had. But outside of that, yeah, it's full on, no distractions, time to go to work, and let's see how good Kellen Moore can make this offense.
I might have to imagine you guys are pretty excited about signing Herbert. He's definitely, whether or not you're a fan of the team or not, he certainly came into the league and made his presence known at that level. So he certainly deserved it. Now, I think it is also fair, though, to then say, all right, KC had a similar circumstance where they had Mahomes come in early, but Mahomes was able to be, to kind of steal the term from the media personality escapes his mind. He was a force multiplier for that team. He was a guy that came into KC and took them from here to here, and you could tell that it was what he was able to do as opposed to, other changes the team made, as an example. Aaron Rodgers is another example of that. When he was with the Packers, we haven't seen him yet with the Jets, but when he was with the Packers, there was an absolute Aaron Rodgers on field and Aaron Rodgers not on field as a difference when he was hurt versus not, right? And so there's only a handful of quarterbacks now in the league. With Mahomes, you have to give credit where credit's due, being one of those. Now, I say all that to say this: Herbert has yet to be the guy per se to push the Chargers deep into the playoffs. And I think that's fair given the fact that you haven't gone deep into the playoffs in Herbert's tenure. Would you not say that he has an awful lot of pressure now on him to, at minimum, get you at least one second round into the playoffs minimum?
Yeah, I mean, there's always added pressure when you sign a lucrative deal like this, and there's more pressure on you than it is the surrounding parties, in a sense. But I would also say this for the Chargers. There's one point that I want to make in regards to him being signed, is that they need to do a good job about, because this has been an ongoing thing with him when it comes down to how he's been in different dynamics in each year of his tenure as a quarterback. It's been a lot of dysfunction around him, in one facet or another. The coach, the O-line, the wide receivers, the running game. It's been a lot of dysfunction, surrounding him. And, you asking him to basically, on top of the fact, let me add this too, on top of the defense being bad, it's one thing to, because we look at a lot of, air quote, elite and upper echelon quarterbacks, they've had, steady to stout defenses. Tom Brady is a byproduct of most of his championship runs in New England were great defense teams. I maybe remember one team that he had the defense wasn't, super top notch. But, overall, I think that he needs to keep the dysfunction away, keep supporting him, and keep things in around him, and keep the distractions down, keep things around him to, at a minimum, that won't be dysfunctional. And that would allow him to elevate the team and take the team where it needs to go. But you got to be, solid defensively. You got to have, protection around him. You got to have decent. I'm not saying you got to have, 10, Pro Bowl wide receivers, but you got to have decent talent around them. I mean, going back to what Tom Brady said about him, his reason why leaving New England, going to the Buccaneers. He just realized that the game is pivoted. The way the league is, you have to have weapons, at least one or two. I mean, let's be honest, Patrick Mahomes is not the Patrick Mahomes without Travis Kelce. Just to name a few things. Devontae Adams, Courtland Sutton. I mean, we can go down the list, but if those guys aren't in house, it's much different in how you produce in regards to how the offense looks and how the team wins games. So if you keep the distractions down, you keep the dysfunction down, I think that he'll be fine. And I think if he had a steady year this year, and I think that if you keep, not cycling his OC, not cycling his head coach, not cycling his quarterback coach, and give us some consistency, because he's literally dealt with this from college until now. Like the last 3 years in college, up until his, pro years, he haven't had any consistency. So imagine what a guy that with his ability, his caliber level can do with some consistency. So if you haven't had the consistency and keep the same guys around him, coaching and player wise, then I think the sky's the limit. But I do believe, there's a slight bit of more pressure, because again, things are going to start to change. After this year, you're gonna lose a wide receiver or two. You're gonna lose an edge rusher or two. You're gonna lose, a running back possibly. So and they got to do a good job of replacing those guys. But yet again, it's gonna get different. Just like it got different for Mahomes when Tyreek left, but he still got it done. So and if you're shooting for that particular bar, it's to usurp them, you have to get those things done. So to a degree, I agree with them, but there's a lot of dynamics when it comes down to football and play there.
But then you also look at Danny Dimes, who got $45 million a year. I mean, granted, it wasn't like a 5-year contract, but I mean that's just the money that's being tossed around. So I mean, a bit of it was dictated by the market. But I would also say that, I mean, before Herbert, when it was Phillip Rivers, after the last 5 years or so, Phillip Rivers was there. It's not like the Chargers were overly competitive. I mean, hell, they were going to move on to Rod Taylor, and they just took Herbert just to take him, and it panned out to something different. So.
I won't say they took him just to take him, but I think they looked at him as to be in the future. But I think they were going to let him sit a year and learn, and have Tyrod be the bridge. But again, an unfortunate circumstance caused him to be thrust into duties week 2, and he never get a job back. That's kudos to him. The fact that he went toe to toe with Mahomes his first game, and he broke all kind of rookie records, won Rookie of the Year, and didn't even play a full set of games. That's a compliment to his talent level. But yet again, you have to support your quarterback regardless of how things are. In the league, you got to keep the dysfunction down. Got to keep the noise down. If you keep the noise down, it'll be just fine.
Well, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. So obviously, the Chargers probably having some of the most impactful news, I guess, in terms of signings and other things. Obviously, with your quarterback. Moving over to the Raiders. That's your team.
Who? What now?
That's your team. Would you like? You're on mute.
Okay, yeah. So I said we talking about practice, not a game, Practice. That's all.
So we have a bevy of Raiders fans in the chat, and I figured it was only fitting to bring in another Raiders fan to add into this conversation to talk about your camp, the way it's looking, players comings and goings, that sort of thing. So with that, we have Tom Jones, T3, joining us, and you, Captain, the low down and the skinny on your Raiders.
Oh well, he's low down. I'm skinny. Okay. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm low down and he's skinny. There you go.
Nobody's called me skinny in 30 years.
Okay, I guess that's a compliment then.
Yeah.
You look skinny on camera.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why you see from the neck, like not even the neck up, like above the neck.
There you go.
I'll take it. Well, good evening, gentlemen. I'll just tell you the initial things from camp. There's a lot of optimism, but there are a lot of questions. And the latest I've seen, anywhere from 3 to 14 those are the initial things I'm getting for what the Raiders are going to finish. I think they'll finish much better than that, but there's just a lot of questions. I think because as a result of that, and the fact that they melted down so many times and didn't finish strong and lost so many of the close games that they ended up winning back in 2022, there's a lot of cause for concern, and I certainly understand everybody's lowballing their results in 2023.
Hey, don't give me a straight line like that there, Tom. Come on, man. Lowballing? Come on.
Okay. All right. Underestimating. But I think the big concern that's obviously been out there has been about the running back room. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have any concerns about that right now. Josh Jacobs has no reason to report. And again, he'll come in. I feel pretty confident he'll sign his tag about a week before the season starts. This will give other running backs an opportunity to get some burn and find out the rest of that running back room. But he's not going to walk away from $10.1 million. He's not going to do the Le'Veon Bell thing. I think until they get everything situated for the rest of the running backs, they just have to kind of take what they can get. And at this situation, at this stage of the game, Josh is going to take what he can get and then try to maximize what he can in 2023. But I'm not concerned about that one bit right now.
If I were him, I'd actually sit out for a game or two.
No, he's not going to miss the Denver game. He'll be there. Trust me.
You saw what I saw, right?
He will be there. He will be there.
That was personal. That was a personal ask.
That's okay, because I think that whoever we have in running back for the camp would be fine enough for the Denver game. Just saying.
Ooh.
Well,
no, Josh is coming. Josh is coming.
See, the only reason why I was making that comment is that he's your best all-round running back. He's a phenomenal pass blocker and pass pro. He is clearly not only is he your best running back from a rushing perspective, he was the league's best running back from a rushing perspective. So I mean, I think that all needs to be factored in as well. And he's kind of that triple threat where he can also catch the ball out of the backfield, and he does fairly well with that as well.
But they don't employ him like that there. Britt. I forgot your name for a second.
Right. Yeah. But the thing is, when they do, he does well. And so the kicker is that he's put that on tape. Other teams will see that he has that on film and on tape. And you will have a guy like Andy Reid or, what's the other guy? Sean McVay or even Bill Belichick or someone who is, a coach in that caliber who will be licking their chops to try to get someone like him over to their team. Do you know who else could be licking their chops? Is a team like the Tennessee Titans or a team like the Baltimore Ravens in 2023, who is that kind of pass first that actually leverages or could certainly use a bell cow style running back. And Josh Jacobs has certainly proven that he gets better with touches. So the more time he touches the ball, the better he seems to run the ball. And I think that he would be a great complement to a team like that. And I think that he could show the Raiders what they're missing potentially. It could backfire, but I don't think that you guys have a running back like the Steelers did that could kind of, fill that gap. I actually think that he could show you guys for a week or two just how important he is.
And that's one of the things that is it's a win-lose or lose-win. I'm not saying that the Raiders have identified and for sure, because I don't have like Marty McFly's time machine. Okay. I don't have a DeLorean. I wish I had a DeLorean at this point. But by the way, they're bringing them back. I don't know if you guys know that they're actually making DeLoreans again. I'm not sure when, but it's not going to be the ones that they did. But I know, off point, fluff me, DeLorean, got it. The thing is, in the Raiders running back room, as I've stated, that this is the time that I really think that the GM, who, unfortunately for Josh, is trying to toe the line on, I'm not going to pay ridiculous money. Personally, and I've had this conversation on my show, by the way, it's the Captain Jack show, not this wonderful show, but a show where it's a lot of me, that I would have given Josh 12.5, 12.5, and like maybe 11 for like 36. First 2 years guaranteed. So the 25 would have been guaranteed, and we wouldn't be in this mess. And then we hear that that he was only asking for 12.3, and they said no. I said, well, at least Josh and I have about the same numbers in mind, right. And that made me feel good. But they said no. So what I really firmly believe is that the Raiders are banking on the RBC. I'm not doing it. Running back by committee. Okay. And they figured that with Zeus White and Britton Brown and Sincere McCormick, and then they had a kid named Walton, not Waller. They had another kid last year in camp that at 32, his number was 32, who actually did Walter. There you go. Who actually did well. I think he's back on the camp, and they're saying we can play Moneyball, where we can have 4 guys, if not 5 guys, make the same amount of money as one guy, and we can spritz it around, and that's either gonna come back and bite them in the ass, or it's gonna be, yeah, you were right, and that's what I think that that Ziegler is playing hardball with. So we'll see.
I actually agree with your approach there. Is you pay him top-ish end money, not top, but top-ish end money for that position. He's earned it at this point. But you don't give him a 5-year deal. You give him a 3-year, basically a 2-year deal with a 3rd-year option.
Yeah, right? Well, that's what I had. Yeah. Two guaranteed.
Yeah, and I would sweeten the pot on that, because it's only in your team's interest. You say, in that 11.5 that we offer you in the last year, the 3rd year of that deal, if we exercise that deal, we will also include rushing yard kind of incentives, where there might be, $500,000 as a bonus, for example, if you're, say, the league lead rusher, or maybe another $200,000 incentive or $250,000 incentive, where it's, if you get 10 or more touchdowns, and you get, maybe a bonus per touchdown thereafter or something. Like, all things that are based on his production and the fact that he has to be on the field producing. I think as a team, you're like, of course you do that, because, man, if he's producing touchdowns and yards like that, we're probably winning games and making the playoffs, or going deep into the playoffs. So why wouldn't you want that as a Raiders fan?
I'm not saying yay, nay, or otherwise. I'm just saying I understand what the game is, and it's either going to be successful for Ziegler, or it's going to come and bite the Raiders in the ass. I'm not really sure.
I think that's also fair. Curious, Coach, as to your thoughts on kind of the Raiders' outlook in camp and whatnot.
Did my face say that I had something to say? Because I do.
I know you do.
Okay, all right.
Coach,
I was wondering what my face said. I can't see it, obviously. I don't know what my face said.
You and I have been colleagues long enough that I just know.
Okay, my guy.
Right.
My guy. So, yeah, I got a lot to say. I'm going to try to save something for the running back segment. However, the Raiders would be, because Jimmy G signed to not a max deal when it comes to quarterbacking, they would be wise to lock him in along with Jimmy G's contract on a 3-year facet. I agree. The 5-year deal is probably a reach. Like, I don't think a 5-year deal for any running back at this stage.
Is that what he wanted, though?
No. I don't think so. I don't think he wanted a 5-year deal, but he just wanted a longer term deal.
I thought he just wanted like 25, 30 million guaranteed. However, that was worked out, right?
I mean, that's very doable in a 3-year deal. That's very doable.
Yeah.
So I think you marry him to Garoppolo for those 3 years that you have Garoppolo for, and the money that you're saving when Garoppolo's contract, you give to Josh. Because quite frankly, what this team looks like without Josh Jacobs, whether Zeus or anybody else works out in this particular running back room, is not the same. It's not the same. There's a clear drop off here.
My thing with it too is, like, you got rid of Derek Carr. You can't get rid of both, facets of the offense without having some sort of severe replacement to it. And you're not gonna have the same success getting rid of Carr and Jacobs and just patching it with Garoppolo and 4 guys. So
very true.
I don't see. I thought for sure by them getting rid of Carr, that meant they put a little more value in Jacobs. And
Highly agree. So I don't get the reason why they're going to play hardball with this. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. We're not in the negotiating room. We don't know exactly what's been asked and what he wants. But anything that's close, to fair market value, between the $10 to $12 million per year range over 3 years, that's your $36 million, and you guarantee most of that. Because he is in a highly violent position. Again, I think it'll ultimately pay off. He's still young. He's in the prime of his career. I mean, the odds of him not you reaping any benefits from that is very slim, in my opinion. So I think that you have to do that from a perspective that you need to lean in on your offensive side of the ball, because that defensive side of the ball, despite signing Marcus Peters, is still a work in progress. It's still a work in progress. So you're gonna have to score some points. You have to score some points. And without Josh Jacobs, it's going to be even harder to do. So I think you absolutely positively sign him and get him in there and give him some semblance of a long-term deal.
I actually have a question for T3 and Captain, and moreover, I'd love to hear from the chat on this. I want to hear what you guys have to say in response to this question. In lieu of what we've seen the Raiders do with Carr, Waller, and now not then doing exactly what Coach just said and calling it out to say Jimmy G gave us a team-friendly deal, which then enabled us to bring Josh back, almost say like, we're working, almost a la New England style here, where, different players were willing to kind of be with the team. They're basically saying, we don't care about either. We're just going to basically say, no, go. How do you think that impacts your team looking ahead at what will inevitably need to be emergency free agency signings? So what I mean by that is, inevitably at some point during the season, you will likely lose a running back, an O-lineman, a linebacker, someone who is or even a cornerback or defensive back, whoever it may be. How are you going to then end up getting those guys when you have to compete with other teams who are going to be in similar positions? Do you think that this could be a tipping point for your team losing out on free agents? Tom, I'll throw over to you first.
Okay. Well, I've got a different opinion on that. I think that Ziegler McDaniels are doing their best to assemble good young talent, which they have more of, I think, this year than they have here. I think that if Justin Herron comes back strong, they signed him and then he went down after 1 week. I think they were really kind of depending on him to be one of the anchors for that offensive line. I think if he comes back strong, that certainly shores that up. But they've got a couple of other young offensive linemen come in. Illuminor has really come along. Dylan Parham has proven himself. And again, I think that offensive line has stepped up. Thayer Mumford is one of the guys I'm looking at to make a big leap in year 2. So as far as the offensive line goes, I think they've got a lot of good quality depth pieces. On the defensive side, if we can get a step up from Matthew Butler and Neil Farrell Jr., the 2 second-year linemen, I think that can have big ups for the defensive line. And you combine that with Byron Young, if he hopefully comes back from injury early. If you have a piecemeal at this point, a piecemeal linebacking core. They didn't really significantly address that, but if you can at least have a stabilizing force there, and then have a growing defensive backfield led by Marcus Peters coming in. Now, he's not going to be a world beater. He's not certainly going to be the Marcus Peters that he was when he was with Kansas City. Maybe there are shades of what he can replicate from when he was in Baltimore. But again, that defense is going to have to elevate itself to be in the top half for us to even be in any type of discussion for playoffs or anything else. So I think the offense will hold its own. I think the question again will come down to the defense, and can the defense at least be toward that middle tier to where it even gives the Raiders a chance to sniff at the playoffs, not to make the playoffs, but even just to have a sniff. Jack, what you think?
You're muted again. There you
Yeah,
go.
apologies. There's something that that needed to be taken care of. I heard bits and pieces of the situation with the offensive line having to. I heard about Justin Aaron coming back and things along those lines. Tom, I apologize profusely. 5 sentences about what you just said. I apologize, gentlemen. I was tuning out because something I had to take care of over here.
Jack, I just told everybody that we're going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Where's that jelly at? What are we doing?
But the like I said, if we're talking about the cogs being better than the whole, I really think that the Ziegler is doing his best to make a complete team a la what they used to do in New England, and that's why that they've had competition amongst the offensive line, like I said, with Justin Herron actually coming back and being another person that can be thrown in the mix at guard or tackle. Illuminor is played in that system and knows it well. Basically, we have to figure out who we're going to kick Alex Bars out for and go for there. And I like the fact that our top 5, in theory, is going to be a lot better this year. And the guys that are behind them, and normally the Raiders carry like 9 offensive linemen, and then one's on practice squad or so. They're going to be a lot better in that case.
So I want to make sure that I kind of my question was generally understood, which is what I heard from you, Tom, was we have better younger guys now. Now that could be a reasonable argument to say that we believe younger guys are going to step up and may fill those voids as, say, practice squad guys develop. But the guys you were talking about were, to my knowledge of your team, which is more robust than most other Broncos fans, but is that most of those guys are already slotted to be either your starter or at the very least you're already your kind of rotational fill-in guy at that particular position. What I was more getting at, which is if your starter were to go down, you would then have a decision to make as a team that would be potentially a sought-after destination between going and signing a remaining veteran who is left on the free agent market or present. But then my concern is that it would be you competing with probably at least 1 or 2 other teams for that guy. And unless you guys are saying our backups are better than anyone on the free agent market in terms of the guys that you actually have in the, say, a practice squad role or anything else, then you would potentially, by my marker here, lose out on that free agent guy because he wouldn't want to join your team because you would not be offering him the same amount of money or type of contract that other teams would.
And I'll pick up, and Jack had to dip out for a moment, but I'll pick up the ball and run with it from there. No pun intended. But I don't think that McDaniels or Ziegler, either one, are looking at the free agent market at this point. I think they are going the direction of developing this team in their mold. They're bringing in guys they want, and I think Marcus Peters is probably the last of those. If something should happen to Jimmy G, I don't see them signing another free agent contract. I see them rolling with Aiden O'Connell. Come hell or high water. He's going to either sink or swim. He may or may not be the quarterback of the future, but I think that's the direction they'll go there. If Josh Jacobs doesn't sign, they've got a bevy of running backs to turn to. They've got a selection of wide receivers and a big tight end room. I think they've got a lot of depth on the offensive line. I think they've got enough pieces on the defensive side to where they can rotate in and out. So I think they're pretty set with what they have. So I could be wrong, but I don't think that there's a free agent out there that they're keeping an eye on that they are thinking can make or break the situation. Because I think if you have one or two key guys that go down, of course, injuries always happen. I don't think there's a guy out there really that can make a difference with the amount of money that they have to spend that could really make a difference for this team.
Fair enough. No, it's one of those things where, and if it's not this season, then potentially next season in the off season as well, because at that point there, you then have a track record in history of cutting bait, cutting ties, not paying homegrown talent. You have to be concerned with that, and that was really the only reason, or the main reason for the question.
Well, I'll just go on record right now and say that Jimmy G is only going to be the quarterback for the Raiders for 1 year. Whether he moves on after 1 year or whether he gets injured and is done or broken in half, whatever.
I'd say
I
5
could be
games.
wrong. And if he makes it beyond this year, I'll be the first one to jump on this podcast and every other and say I was wrong. But I warned the Raiders about this when they signed him. And I still am very leery about what's going to happen. I say within the first 5 games of the season.
So
Alex,
what's the
just,
succession
sorry,
plan?
Coach, I had to jump in. They already have his reality show lined up in Las Vegas. It's called Rehabbing with Rippers.
Wow. Wow.
I think what he's going to do is just buy the Playboy Mansion and redo that. He's going to reboot that show.
He's going to be the new Hugh Hef.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what's the succession plan for the Raiders if Jimmy G is not the long-term solution, at least for the next 3 years?
It's Caleb Williams.
Aiden O'Connell for this year, and then we'll see what happens in 2024.
But what's funny?
Aiden may have a chance to start next year, but I think they may go a different direction altogether.
Wow. Well, that's a good one.
They're going to tank for Arch Manning.
Stop it. That's 2 years down the line, though, isn't he? He's not eligible for 2 years, right? Okay. Well, I mean, that's more of a possibility than Caleb, because I think it's a track meet in the NFC West for Caleb Williams services. I think the Rams and the Cardinals are on a fast track to get his services. I think they're going to be just that much more bad than the Raiders would ever be in this facet to get that number 1 overall pick. So
when you said Rams, did you say bad?
That's a good one.
Yeah,
they're going to be bad. They're going to be bad. So yeah, it's very low expectations.
They may be the worst team in the league this year.
I'm actually going to reach out to the Rams Up podcast, friend of the show, come on a bunch of times for our basically our top 3 kind of reasons why segments that we have here, and I'm going to be reaching out to him shortly because I am genuinely curious as to where he's at.
So am I. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we knew that was going to blow up at some point, right?
Yeah. Do we need to do a wellness check? Do we need a wellness check on him? Is he okay?
I have to reach
probably
out.
A Chargers fan.
I've been meaning to, but it's
probably a Chargers fan now.
Oh no, he switched. He just moved over. He just switched locker rooms. I'm on over. We was room on the bus.
Switched off.
There you go. Yeah, just went from one side of the stadium to the other. That's all.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Come on over. We got plenty of room on the bus. Get on now, though. While the fares are cheap. The prices go up as the season goes on.
Yeah. So I want to quickly jump into the Broncos stuff. It's been actually rather uneventful and can be summarized pretty quickly for those Broncos fans who are joining us live. And thank you for everyone joining us live tonight. Lovely seeing you guys in the chat. Go ahead and like and share the podcast. Get a bunch of other football fans on here. We love getting comments, questions, all those good things. But the Broncos training camp has been, our whole camp here so far has been fairly consistently consistent. I have no other way of putting it, where the discipline has been on display. That has been a very, very consistent theme that has come from multiple sources, not just, the Broncos cronies that are going to basically say anything good just to kind of get their press pass renewed early. Sean Payton clearly runs a much tighter ship than Hackett did. The players seem to be moving a little crisper. There seems to be a lot less hectic nonsense in the locker room. You can also tell by the Broncos social media that there's even a difference in terms of how they are operating as well. There's a lot less fun and games and a lot more, down to brass tacks football, which for those of you who have followed me for any period of time, it's about damn time is my answer to that one. So I think that's an important piece. There was a bit of a surprise. Coach, you kind of alluded to it earlier, which was Javonte Williams, made a pretty solid appearance today for the Broncos and yesterday by showing up. And again, much like your potential pup list candidate with the Chargers, managed to avoid the pup list by being there and by all accounts being a full participant when needed. So, you have to give credit where credit's due for being able to bounce back. The difference between me and you is, while I do believe Jimmy G will be rehabbing with the Rippers, I do think that what you saw from JC and Javonte was potentially a combination of two things. One, sports medicine has made such tremendous leaps in these past 3 to 5 years that the surgeries that are being done on these players are being done with such precision now. And sadly, the major injuries like these ACLs and MCLs and all those other things, they're becoming routine. These are no longer, the challenging, potentially never playing sports again injuries. These are a Tuesday and see you next year kind of thing. And they are becoming so good at doing them that it's almost automatic. And I also think that, my main thing is I actually think it's just the quality of the surgery that we're seeing as opposed to the rehab. You're dealing with professional athletes who more often than not need to be saved from themselves, from injuring themselves too soon because they're willing to push through anything.
Don't forget that part.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That gets you a lot of top end doctors, just to say the least.
Well, it does, but that kind of goes in what I'm saying is that you're getting the doctor. Like before, for example, you had one, maybe two doctors that have done MCL and ACL on top end athletes. Now it's happening so frequently that you have this pretty deep roster of 5 to 10 doctors that are world renowned at this point for top tier MCL, ACL surgeries.
Yeah, because Alex, when you tear your ACL? What year was that?
2012.
2012. So yeah, I mean, we're talking 10
and
years.
The guy that did mine was, he was in Des Moines, Iowa, but he did Iowa State, and the Baltimore Ravens. So he was a renowned guy,
right?
Yeah.
And that again, how long did it take you to do your rehab?
It was like I was out. I didn't go back to football till the next fall, but I was like running and cutting and lifting by. I had surgery in October. By like April, May.
I say, yeah.
I wasn't back to like full tilt then, but I was
right.
like able to move.
So. Yeah, so we're talking a patella tendon injury and two different ligament injuries for Javonte, and they were we're talking 8-9 months, in recovery. Yep. So yeah, that's a lot of advancement there, whole lot of advancement there.
Yeah, and that bodes well for his playing career, showing that he can recover quickly as well. A lot of that's also genetics. You have to remember we are dealing with an elite class of people. These are
the top 1% of the 1%. Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, these are not normal men. These are at a different level genetically than most men that are out there. Even my injuries. So I shattered my right leg. I was healed in 5 weeks.
Jeez.
I was healed completely in 5 weeks.
That's crazy.
I come from a lineage of football players, like leatherheads. That's where I come from. Those types of freaks. And so
y'all have adamantium in your bones. Y'all not normal people.
Yeah.
Vibranium.
Yeah,
vibranium. Right, there you go.
Yeah,
adamantium, vibranium. This is one of those metals, soft metals.
So my adamantium, right? So that's what Wolverine had. But with regards to my family, I do know that my great grandfather broke both legs clean through. Again, he was like 6 weeks and back and playing with the Tiger Cats. Again, one of those things where I knew I had the genetics. My dad cracked his back and is walking fine now. So I knew that I had the genetics to heal from those sorts of things. But different people don't have those types of benefits. They don't have the genetic ability to heal from those injuries. Look no further from like Jake Butt, who was the Broncos tight end. He couldn't stay on the field for longer than 10 minutes. A stiff wind came across the field and he like cracked a rib or something. Like, it was brutal. You can have all the physical traits in the world, but if you can't keep your bones and muscles intact, then it matters not. And so that's really what the big issue is with these guys, is you have to have a combination of the ability to heal and build muscle mass in order to actually move guys around and be successful as an athlete. But you also have to have the bone structure and the healing ability to recover from minor and major injuries to truly succeed at the NFL level. And, you see guys with all the talent in the world. I look at hockey as an example here. Sadly, Captain isn't here, but Eric Lindros and the Lindros brothers would be, for those of you who know anything about hockey, would be primary and absolute great examples of that. They were top-notch hockey players. They were basically a stiff wind would cause them to ride the pine because they got hurt, but they were amongst the best hockey players ever.
Hey guys, let me jump in real quick. I know Jack had to jump out, but I'm gonna have to jump out as well. But I wanted to thank Coach for jumping on the Only Nation podcast with me last week, and I want to invite you other two gentlemen to come on. We'd be happy to put together a crossover edition. I think the one that Coach is on with me should be coming out this coming week, and I put together a very interesting show which tied together the Raiders and Chargers organizations together. So that's something that you can all keep a lookout for. And again, Rich and Alex, I'd be happy to do the same thing with your groups.
Yeah, me, and we're good to go.
Yeah, and I've put with Coach. I'm putting together a writing piece right now, which I think all of you are going to be interested in, which I hope to share more of that with you all next week. But I'm going to catch your comments off, and I appreciate you having me in once again, and I look forward to hearing the rest of your comments off.
Fantastic.
You all take care.
Thank you for joining us. Great as always. Love the feedback and love the commentary.
Absolutely.
See you, Joe.
Appreciate
Joe
you.
Rogan.
Thank you. Joe Rogan has left the building.
Oh my God.
Oh, that was great. Fantastic.
Who said that? That was funny. I
that was great. I think it was Jack.
I think it was Sharif. Was it Sharif? I thought Sharif said it.
It was either Sharif or Jack.
That was a while ago.
Great.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
Alex, so I there was not a tremendous amount that really took place that was made public. The only thing I will say, and I don't know if it is league-wide yet, but the Broncos have fully adopted the poofy helmets. I'm sure they have another name.
I think that is league-wide.
Yeah.
For linemen and stuff.
No, everyone in the Broncos.
Oh, the protective helmets. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was coming out like my last year of football. They made me wear it. I was like, this is so dumb. I was like, it was kind of nice because you didn't feel any of it, but I was like, dude, I look stupid.
I actually attended a football conference in camp there where before they released them. And it was actually very, very they were very much ahead of the game when now that the whole league is wearing them. So yeah, it's definitely, I'm trying to remember what the name of it is. I was getting emails about it. They were trying to sell me, get my program to buy a bunch of them. I'm like, we don't have the money for that. We're high school. We don't have the money for that. Like, no.
Thanks for showing this. We're good.
You're right. Exactly. So yeah, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting technology, and they're supposed to cut down the concussions and all that good stuff. So especially guys, even when you're doing walkthroughs, banging helmets and things of that nature. So yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. So the one thing I did notice is that I think every Broncos player was wearing one. Like it wasn't just like, oh, it was just this position group or that position group. I saw defensive backs, running backs. I'm pretty sure it was everyone for the Broncos. Everyone for the Broncos. I guess last but not least was just, good seeing some of these potentially injured players coming back and kind of rejoining the team, if you will, which is such a big deal in football. You always
Guardian caps. That's it. Guardian caps. That's it.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Guardian cap. Yep.
Yeah. So, Alex, I'm going to go ahead and throw over to you. I'm curious to hear about the Chiefs camp, and then let's delve right into the running back discussion, and then we'll save the player integrity bit as more of a throwaway there at the end because there's not a whole lot to talk about. I don't think. I think it'll just be like a little round table bit. That's it.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, there's been pretty much two big things so far in Chiefs camp. I'd say the biggest one is the Chris Jones holdout. He has not been at camp in the last year of his deal. I know I have mentioned more times than I can count that is something I thought they would work out. And inevitably appears that two sides are far apart at the moment. All reports are that he wants, $30 million, which is kind of in line, little less than Aaron Donald, but up there with the tier of higher paid pass rushers in the game. I haven't seen really much on
really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with it, but it's just. I mean, I get because he this is probably in all reality the last big contract he could get. So I mean, I'm all for a player maximizing his worth, especially when teams show how easy it is to get out of those things or move on, and to where it's like, they signed this piece of paper says they get $50 million, but at the long run, by so many teams changing hands, like they really got like 10 and they're going to get 50, down the road. So I'm all for it. I think it's something they got to work out. I know kind of Chiefs Kingdom Twitter is like, they're all kind of going, I feel like a little like just naive and a little ignorant on it. Cause they're like, well, we got rid of Tyreek. Why don't we just get rid of him? We were fine. And I was like, well, it's one thing to get rid of a wide receiver when you still got Travis Kelce and Mahomes. Chris Jones is pretty much the
Defense.
glue that makes the defense stick. Cause if you get rid of him, then I mean there's no guaranteed pass rush, and if there's no guaranteed pass rush,
how are you?
See how bad that defense can be. For them being ranked 20th or whatever, still were second in the league in sacks last year. So kind of something they need to prioritize. I imagine it'll get done at some point. I think just kind of figuring out where that figures at. But I mean, the dude is, he was fourth in sacks last year. And I think in the last 5 years, he's top 4 in the league behind TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, and Aaron Donald. So he absolutely deserves his money. And, we'll just see what happens with that. It's right now kind of in the news is, he wants $30 million. They're far apart. So that either means this can get really prolonged or he's going to sign at midnight tonight. So, we'll see what happens. And then other news, other big news, although at least doesn't seem as big as when it was initially coming out. But Kadarius Toney, got injured in practice on Sunday and had surgery Tuesday, and at least everyone's being kind of ambiguous on if he'll be there for the start of the season, but at least looks pretty likely that he's going to be out for most of the preseason training camp. I think Reed called it surgery for his cartilage. Other people have called it torn meniscus. So I would think it's maybe a little more severe than a torn meniscus though, because I've played with guys that have torn their meniscus and had surgery and were, missed like 2 games. So, we'll see what happens with that, but that's certainly I know Caps, being a Gator fan, talked about his injury concerns. Gabe, the Giants Slayer, talked about it. And it's certainly an alarming thing to happen in kind of the non-contact portion of getting it ready for the season, and especially when all the offseason hype was him going to be a pretty big focal point of the passing game and kind of be wide receiver one. So, we'll see what happens with that, but I do think kind of the bright side of that is it's kind of forced some of the younger guys to have to be more involved. I get it, this point of the preseason's all 7-on-7, like every team's posting highlights, cool one-handed catches and stuff like that. But I mean, I think it's good that at least right now you see a lot of Rashid Rice, the guy they took in the second round, as well as Justin Ross, kind of their names and highlights showing up quite a bit. And I don't think that you would see that much if a healthy Tony was there, because obviously they're going to, be working to get him into the fold. So I think it's kind of a glass half full. I think that's a good thing. And we could, that's only going to create more options and get more people comfortable once we roll into week one. So, we'll just see what goes down with that. And then, I had some other guys injured this week, but I think in terms of the seriousness, nothing too wild. And then last kind of pressing news, which actually happened right before the show started, was old John Ross. If anyone knows John Ross, I kind of forgot he was on the Chiefs. But I think he was drafted Bengals 2017 because he ran like a 4.2.
4.22.
Announced his retirement today. So
that's right.
He's officially done.
And he quickly put that paperwork in, so he didn't run a 4.2 when he submitted it, but it was still sub 5.
Yeah, it was. So he retired, and but he was on the practice squad. I don't think he ever saw a game in KC. If he did, he never got actual reps. So, hell of a Madden player though. We'll say that. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, that's not really too much going on. I would implore everyone, if you haven't, to watch the Netflix show Quarterback. So that's pretty cool. I feel like make you like Mahomes a little better, but maybe not. I don't know.
Depending on who you are, depending on who you are, if you respect the game, it'll probably make you have more admiration. If you're just an avid hater, you're gonna hate him worse.
I didn't know anything about Kirk Cousins, and I was like, hell, he's kind of a cool guy. Like, I respect Kirk more after watching that. So I was curious to see if anyone respected Mahomes more, or it got, I guess, it felt like it was a more personal look at how they go about things.
Hey, Alex, and no hate on this, but it's like I can't stand Mahomes. I give him his due for how effective and how much of a great quarterback he is. Can't stand him, his bratty ass bitchy wife, and his.
Yeah, you didn't watch the show.
You did.
No, I have not watched the show. I just know how she is. That's why I don't want to. Okay,
but hold on. I love how you started with no disrespect. Like,
well, no, only because he accused me of watching the show, and I said, "F no." I caught myself. Myself. F no, I have not watched the show. I don't need to watch the show to have it reiterated and enforced about those 3 points. I didn't even get a chance to talk about his dysfunctional brother because you caught me on saying you watch the show. I don't need to watch the show. I have no interest in Kirk Cousins, and I have no interest in a washed-up former Raiders quarterback like Marcus Mariota. So there's no reason for me to waste a half an hour to an hour of my time when I have so very little of it to watch something that doesn't interest me. And again, no hate and discontent until you told me I watched the show.
I love how you led with that.
No.
Listen, For those
You
listening,
can't just
if
say
anybody
whatever you
ever
want.
tell you, right? If anybody ever tells you, I
With all
mean no
due respect.
disrespect, or
You're gonna be disrespected, but
disrespectful, exactly.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not hating. I'm not hating, which means I'm going to hate right now.
I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm about to do just before I do it in hopes that you get less angry at me.
Exactly. I'm going to calm you down by saying no disrespect. But I'm
Yeah.
going to disrespect you.
Well, like I said, lots of respect for Alex and the smug crew. Okay,
Uh-huh.
Okay.
lots of
All
respect
right.
for Alex and the smug crew, but
Yeah.
there's no effing way on earth that
All right.
this guy is going to watch crap. I watch enough crap that I want to watch rather than stuff that I don't want to. You get what I'm saying here, right?
I know you got too many Real Housewives to watch. There's not enough room for football.
I don't. I've never
Think of
watched.
that.
I've never watched that
Gotta
crap
watch the Love
either.
Island.
Love
I've
Island.
never watched that. No, like I said, I try to watch quality.
Naked and Afraid. Naked and Afraid.
No, but I do know a chick that was on that show.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Her brother is a Raiders fan. She lives up in Washington State. She's a couple years back, and she's a tatted blonde with a nice rack. And you know, I although I've only seen I haven't seen the show, but she said, yeah, I was on Naked and Afraid. I'm like, all right, but no, I haven't seen that show either. I have no interest. Most reality shows, I really have no interest in watching.
Nah, I'm just messing with you. I understand completely. I don't watch them at all either.
No
Yeah.
disrespect, but all reality shows are trash.
Then they're fake.
I'm trying.
Hey,
I'm
I'm
They're
saying I
staged.
took an entertainment law course with the professor was the counsel for America's Got Talent, Kardashians, like all these shows. She
Yeah.
told us how all of them are fake. Like all
Oh,
of
yeah.
them
There you
are
go.
like
Breaking
like-
news, ladies and gentlemen. If you watch that
like
stuff,
none of it is actually like
Staged.
none
Like-
of
it's
it's
like-
real.
it's basically WWE reality TV. That's really
Yeah.
what it is.
and I don't watch that shit either. Sorry, I couldn't stop.
Well,
the
that's
SPIT. No.
Well, wrestling's real. Come on.
See when I come back to, I dip out for a bit, and then
Well,
I get.
actually, there's elements of it that have.
Oh, the bumps are real. The bumps are. I got a few friends that actually wrestle.
Yeah.
Their bumps are real. The storylines are scripted.
Right.
Yeah, like that's a legit physical thing. Like they are legit physical.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's real.
Yeah,
deal
we're just
stuff.
talking about the storyline aspect of it. That's the part.
Yeah.
That part. Yeah.
And don't get, and even when you hear Undertaker in real life in actual sit down interviews, you can't help but like the guy. The guy's amazing.
Oh, I love Undertaker, man.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely love him. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mark Callis is my guy.
Yeah, he's
Mark
legit.
Calloway's my guy. Mark
Yeah,
Calloway's
he's
my guy.
legit.
I'm
Anyway.
sorry. I anybody after Dusty Rhodes and
Rey
Hacksaw-
Mysterio.
You look like a Dusty Rhodes fan. I definitely
Yeah,
see
yeah.
you. Like, yeah.
Dusty
Yeah.
Rhodes in Orlando when I was growing up was the shiznit. Okay, so anybody after Dusty Rhodes, there was a guy. Was it Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
he was, because he was sounded, or he kind of was off, right? You know, it's like a I know I'm gonna offend people. No, here's your next clip.
Don't do
Here's
it. Don't
your
do it.
next clip, right? He was
Do
touched.
it.
He was touched, right? Or he was off.
He
was
acted like
touched.
he was. He acted like he was?
Right.
Okay,
He acted
okay.
like he was, because I'm sure he was not.
Well, I'm sure his catchphrase wouldn't fly now if you know what it was.
No, I don't remember what the.
What was it?
Go Google it.
Who's this guy?
Coach A, he's like, see, that guy's smart. He said, I'm not going to be a part of.
Wait, what's this guy's name? Dusty Rhodes.
No.
No, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah,
Hacksaw
Jim
Jim. Oh God.
Duggan. Yep.
yeah.
I'm sure it's. I have a feeling I know what it is, but
Yeah, he carried a 2x4 and he had a catchphrase.
Yeah. Put it in private chat, Alex. We'll save Coach. because-
Yeah, appreciate you.
is this right?
Yes, indeed.
Put in private chat since you're looking it up.
So
Yeah,
now
I'm
I
on
do
the
have a
article.
Kansas City
Please
question
do.
while we're talking. Well, I do have a Kansas City question.
Yeah,
So
what up?
do you how long do you think the Chris Jones thing drags out in your personal opinion? And I have a follow-up question too to after you answer that one.
And did you guys go over the injuries in Raiders camp? I'm sorry. Again, I apologize for dipping out. I'll do that when I get it after y'all.
Oh, we can come back to you on that one, Cap, after Alex goes through his.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I think it'll get resolved before. I bet we make it in like week 1 or 2 of preseason. If it drags out that long, but I mean, I think they got to work it out somehow. I mean,
I don't see having choice. I don't see having choice. I don't see.
Can't.
Yeah, there's no trading him. There's no trading him and getting equal or thus compensation for him.
And if you want to stay in the championship window, like
you need Chris Jones.
Yeah. So I mean,
you completely and utterly weak up the middle if you don't say have Chris Jones in the lineup. Yeah. So do they capitulate to the 30 million? Is my second question.
I think you got to. I mean, so I saw like Quinnen Williams, right? He just got paid $24 million. Mm-hmm. But the difference, I think, between Quinnen Williams looking at Aaron Donald with 31.7, Quinnen Williams is like more of your straight up D tackle, And so I'm sure they're trying to stay closer to that. But I mean, like I just said, Chris Jones is top 4 in the NFL in sacks. He had 15 and a half. And
from the interior.
And they move him around. So, I mean, I think you kind of got to – and, like, I think he was asking for 30, so it's not like he's saying reset the market, know. And if you go look at Aaron Donald's contract, I think it was on paper 31. three-year deal that comes out to 31.7 a year, but there's, like, void years in it, so it doesn't impact the cap and all this crap. So it's like I'm sure you can do something like that where it's like you already know he's not asking to reset the market. So you already know if you go, hey, here's 32, and he's like, no, I want 35. Like, that's not going to happen. So, like, I think if you can get, like 29 and a half, 30, somewhere in there, like, you might as well just get it done because you got to. Like, at this stage, if you're trying to keep your championship window, everyone's asking Mahomes, are you guys a dynasty? Everyone's talking about potential dynasties. None of that's going to be there's not going to be any chance of doing any of that if Chris Jones isn't on the team.
Absolutely. So, I totally agree. Now, grant you, the other 3 guys on this podcast would love the fact that he sat home and did nothing. But, from a football perspective and just a football competitive, aspect of this conversation, he definitely has to be there in order for you to be able to compete at a high level on the defensive side of the ball. Yes.
And then it's just like you look at, like, it just Chiefs Kingdom Twitter kind of pisses me off doing it because it's like half of them are like, I think we've all been there. I think we all had arguments with our fine.
Yeah. It's
like half are saying that, and then other half go, well, Patrick took less money so that they could have a winning roster. Why can't Chris do that? Like, why can't Chris Jones do that? I'm like, well, I mean, he kind of did.
No, he front loaded his contract, but he didn't take less money.
I mean, if you look at the QB contract right now, he did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
he front loaded his contract with guarantees, and then what he's done is he's made it so that all of this future money that's going on deeper into like now and into the future, they can literally take a bunch of his money that he's owed, convert it to signing bonus, and save money on the cap.
Each year.
That's literally what he did. So
but if you also go look at the average salaries, he's like 8th or 9th. So I think arguably he has taken less money. He took less money than Russell Wilson, and look where Denver's at. So, I mean, he's made it to where, and Kelsey too. Like they told Kelsey, hey, you're grossly underpaid, and they both said like, I'm cool with taking less money because I'd rather win. And what I was getting at is like Chiefs fans are using that as against Chris Jones, or at least that's how people look. I'm sure you didn't see that stuff.
You can't do that.
But no.
Chris Jones is going to have a much shorter career than Patrick Mahomes.
That's the
difference because he's 31.
That is the difference.
This is going to be his
last payday. Patrick Mahomes is going to get probably 2 more, possibly. This is Chris Jones' last payday. He's not going to get paid in any stretch past this. This is the last time to cash in. That's it.
Yeah, this is it. He's got nothing left.
Nope.
everything else he's ever going to make is going to be 1 year prove it stuff.
Yeah.
Just fact.
And it also depends on how long he wants to play after this. I mean, if he lands 2 more Super Bowls in this new deal, he's probably going to retire. Why would you keep playing and keep putting your body through that?
Well,
I mean, if you make $30 million annually for the next 3 years, that's $90 million. Why would you in 2 Super Bowls? Why would you need to keep playing?
if
You got 2 already.
If your
4.
body
That's
is
4 Super Bowls and over $100 million in money.
Yeah, but if your body's in good shape and you're making and he gets offered $5 million a year in 1 year prove it deals, you're cool with that.
If you're on the Chiefs, maybe.
Well,
but
then you
not
got
anybody
like
else.
Calais Campbell, right? He's bouncing around. I mean, he's signed a 1 year, $8 million deals
with the Falcons.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're making $8 million a year or $9 million a year, you're like, all right.
I'd be cool with $8 million just once in my life.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
I don't need yearlies.
Just give me one run go at it. I'll wave a
Give me a
towel
little
for a
bite
year.
of the apple, dude. Yeah,
I'll wave a towel for
I'll
a
be
year.
a locker room guy.
You know what? I'll do that better. I'll take 800,000, not even 8 mil. I'll take 800,000 one-time lump sum, no taxes. I'll be good.
Vet minimum. You just want a vet minimum for one time.
Yeah, is that what that minimum? Is that minimum?
That minimum's like 1.1, man.
Oh, well, okay, give me.
It's $750, but it depends on how years vested you are in the league. So it's $750 minimum, and then it's 1.5 if you have like 5 years in the league or something like that.
I'll take a cool million. I'll take a cool million and just no taxes, cool million straight.
Well, isn't Florida tax free?
No. Florida's tax free, but still, it's when you got the other crap, that you had, federal. Yeah. I said, just give me $1 million because I'm worth it. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me.
Well,
if you don't know that, then go back and watch. Come on, man. Give me a break here.
We had the best with you. We had the best with you.
Oh, man. That's why you guys make me feel old every friggin' day.
If I win the Powerball, I'll give you $1 million, all right?
Captain, at the end of the day,
there it is.
At the end of the day, that was the equivalent to the lowball comment.
Right.
At the end of the day, that comment was exactly the same one where you made a comment to T3 when he was here, when he used the word lowball.
Yeah.
That was
throw it up. Just throw it up.
That was just
throw it up in the air.
That was too easy. But I mean, let's just be honest. So, guys, I do want to get into the running back piece because I think.
Oh, you want to do his injuries real quick?
And again, apologies for dipping out earlier. People were asking, why are the Raiders bringing in these extra defensive tackles? They signed Kyle Pecco again. Remember, he was on and he's off and he's on.
Kyle Pecco's a good player.
Yeah, but like I said, we'll see if he cracks the DT room because they were also looking at 2 other, and their names are so who gives a flying foxtrot? I don't even know. But they signed Kyle Pecco, and they were looking at 2 other guys, and there's why? Well, because Neil Farrell Jr., who was one of the guys that they drafted last year, is on the physically unable to do shit list. Okay. And the other thing is that he was going in behind camp of
is that the PUS?
That's the pussy. That's the pussy list.
I'm sorry. I did it. I did it.
You needed another one, man. Come on.
I served it up. I'm sorry.
That's it. Anyway.
I couldn't reel it back. Tiger got on the cage, man. I couldn't reel it back. The Tiger got on the cage. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. You're talking about it. No, don't make me stand up. You want to keep this on the PG level, right?
I don't want to get shadow banned from YouTube right now. I'm good.
Okay. But anyway, that's the reason why. And also they were and the Raiders were also looking at it. They're not a defensive tackle, but they actually were looking at the one of the 2 best running backs in the XFL, whose name escapes me.
You hate me.
No, not. Come on. No, I'm talking not the original XFL, Alex. I'm talking the one from last year XFL.
Well, the Broncos cut that guy, actually.
I was going to say Rod Smart wouldn't be bad at this point. See, I know who He Hate Me is. Okay, I'm old and good like that. Rod Smart, He Hate Me. But no, it's one of the XFL's running back from last year, like one of the number 1 or number 2 running backs. And they're even looking at that based upon, again, a possible long holdout for
Josh
Jacob.
Patrick.
I don't remember.
So the Broncos had him signed him originally in the offseason and then cut him early in this offseason. I would be very excited if I were you, if you guys ended up signing him. He is a big dude.
Yeah, that the guy I'm talking about is like a
he's
big
like
thing.
He's like 6'3" and almost 250.
He's about a half a sandwich
Brandon
short
Jacobs.
of a picnic table.
Yeah, exactly.
Brandon Jacobs out there.
Yeah, he is massive.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and again, so the injuries are like, and I know that I already put in one of the Twitter comments that somebody's already starting early on the injury front.
That you did.
You know, but like I said, there are reasons why that things are going on in camp, and like I said, Jimmy G Spot, it actually showed up and was doing well, but I wanted to at least get some of the injuries in as well. So, and I know we talked about it, Kyle Herron, who is another one of those guys who can go on the offensive line, and if he knows the system, is definitely I'm an upgrade over Alex Bars. Alex Given is an upgrade over Alex Bars. So you can keep the Alex.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is that a backhanded compliment?
Absolutely.
That's a backhanded compliment.
Just
you know.
checking.
Yeah.
Just checking.
I'm 58 with sciatica, and I'm still better than Alex Bars. Okay, that's what's going in.
I got sciatica.
I got the arthritis anyway.
The doctor said I need a backiotomy.
But anyway, that's the Raider injury front. Nothing else really to speak of, and I hope and pray that there's not a lot to talk about on the injury front for the Raiders, because I do think, and this is not a prediction, this is not it's not a jinx, but historically, the longer people hold out, and I'm not mentioning names, the longer people hold out and then they go into the season, bad juju happens.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, that actually is true. There is multiple players in recent history that have proven records of getting hurt as a result of going out like that. So,
well, yeah,
but,
it's like, I think it's funny, going into the RB talk, but I can't remember what show Saquon was on, but he was talking about his leverage, and he's like, "I'll just sit out," and then it was like 2 days later he just signed.
He signed, right.
Watch Le'Veon, the whole Le'Veon Bell situation, right? Like he was they were talking about someone needed to be a trailblazer in this thing. I was like, Le'Veon Bell tried to be one.
He tried
4 years ago.
And now he's saying he apologized to Pittsburgh. He should have never left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Raiders can make this easy, whatever. And I think it's 11. If when Saquon's contract all said and done, the base plus whatever is like 11 million.
They can max to 12.
No, or what? Okay, max to 12. Then the Raiders can do. We will give you 12 million and 50 cents, because then it's more. That's more than what Saquon got. Okay, and 50 cents. Yeah. Or 250, just like in South Park, I'll bring it back up in South Park. How much do you want? He wanted 250. Yeah, I told you not to give me that. I'm just watching the TV. I'm 250. 12 million and 250.
I'm a Family Guy person, but with regards to running backs, and I think this is a pretty good segue into it. There's a bunch, I think, to unpack with regards to running backs in the NFL today. And I am genuinely concerned that we are going to no longer see the same caliber of running backs any longer in very short order. The social media game is strong now in the younger generation. They're going to start seeing the messages that are getting put out by Saquon and these other guys. And so you're going to start getting guys in high school. You're going to start getting guys through college that will start changing positions to whether it be tight end or linebacker or any other positions that make more sense other than running back, because unless you're just, blow the doors off good as a rookie and get that first time rookie deal where you're making, $20 million out of college over 3-4 years, and where you might be able to get $5 to $10 million a year if you're, a world beater at the NFL level as a running back, and your second contract, it looks like your paydays are basically over. And I think that's going to start having a tremendous effect. There were some interesting things that came out this week. So for those of you who aren't following the NFL as closely as, say, the four of us are, there was a running back Zoom meeting that took place this week with quite a number of the top tier running backs in the NFL. You had Christian McCaffrey
and Austin Eckler.
He was there, yeah.
He orchestrated
No,
it.
Jonathan Taylor.
He orchestrated the Zoom.
Did you see what I did there, though? All of the top running backs in the NFL and Austin Eckler.
Well, he's still one of the
He is
better
a
running
touchdown
backs in
machine.
the NFL, right? So
Absolutely.
Come on, man.
Let me-
Give me the burn, man. Give me the burn. Come on.
you try.
There you go.
But in terms of what we saw this week, we saw the top echelon of running backs
And Austin Eckler.
basically banding together and saying no.
Well,
like, this is not good.
yeah. Nothing they could do though.
So the question then is, one thing that was
I wouldn't
thrown
say
out.
it's nothing they do, but go ahead, though, Rich. I'm sorry.
Well, the one thing that was thrown out, which I thought was an interesting idea, which is the owners are basically saying, we don't want to pay your position group because you guys get hurt too often when we sign you to these big lucrative contracts at the end of your career. So the one thing that I saw thrown out by, I think it was even Chris Sims, if I'm not mistaken, who said, fine, let's appease the owners with their concerns, but then let's have the owners all pitch in, 10 million or 15 million a year into a running back pot that is incentive driven, whereby if you are a top tier running back on a rookie contract, that you draw down from that on a fixed incentive based basis, whereby if you are an upper echelon running back, you can still get paid in your second contract if your team and owner feels that you warrant it, but you'll get paid a little extra bonus bump, from the league in order to compensate for the fact that you might not get that second payday because the owners may believe that your risk is too high. I thought that was an interesting concept.
Wait, who said that?
I think Chris Sims from Pro Football Talk did.
Oh, okay. Now, interesting, it's some heat going on Twitter right now. So apparently Jim Irsay has some
An X, baby, it's X.
So Jim Irsay has some things to say about the NFL running back situation. And he said, and I quote, NFL running back situation, we negotiated CBA that took years of effort and hard work and compromise in good faith by both sides. To say now that a specific player category wants another negotiation after the fact is inappropriate. Some agents are selling bad faith. Yeah. To which Jonathan Taylor's agent responded and said that bad faith is not playing your top offensive players.
Yeah.
So,
which is true. I'm sorry.
Irsay was probably going typing, So.
Right. I mean, we take Irsay's comments.
He's like, I'm not paying this idiot.
He also said Lamar Jackson should convert to wide receiver, but that's a whole other conversation for another day.
I didn't understand. I didn't understand you, Alex.
Right. In between lines, he was talking.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting dynamic. The two things that I wanted to bring up is that it's Alex's point. He still felt like, and then I didn't like what Nick Chubb said. He felt like they didn't have any leverage, they couldn't do anything, because that's not true. And I also believe that it's tiers to running backs. Like, I feel like the market should bear money based upon tiers. Like, you have a handful of guys, maybe 8 to 10 guys that are flat out elite, and they matter significantly to their team. We're talking Derrick Henry. We're talking Christian McCaffrey. We're talking Austin Eckler. We're talking Jonathan Taylor. We're talking Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley. Guys in that conversation, right? Dalvin Cook, in my opinion, it should be in that conversation, right?
He's got a legal thing right now that's got to be sorted.
It's sorted. I saw the tweet the other day. I'll forward it to you.
Okay.
It's sorted.
Yeah. All right.
But so I think that tier, based upon their production and their contribution to the team, should be paid. Now, when you get down to an Alvin Kamara, hypothetically, or I want to say a Jamal Williams, a Chuba Hubbard, somebody like that, David Montgomery, Miles Sanders, different tier, should be a different pay scale, right? So, but yet again, I feel like you should pay running backs based upon their talent. You pay Pro Bowlers differently than you pay middle tier guys. I mean, that's across the board. That's across the board. So I do believe that they should look at it from that dynamic versus just saying don't pay any running backs at all. Period. The whole position is just washed. We're not paying nobody.
I think it's funny too that, like, Bijan Robinson, right? Wherever he got drafted, he's going to be the highest paid running back in the league because of how his contract.
In 2-3 years, right?
No, now he gets paid more now than Derrick Henry does. He's about to get paid almost $14 million because of where he got drafted. And
just this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because of the slotting.
Well, I thought Christian McCaffrey was making like 16. I thought Christian McCaffrey was making like 16 a year. I have to look it up. But yeah, I thought Christian McCaffrey was still up there, like 14, 16 million as well. Because I thought it was Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, and then everybody else. I thought that's how it's tiered. But I mean, that could have been before Bijan got drafted. I'm not sure.
Or total cash, whatever that means.
Well, yeah, he get a lot of cash up front with his guaranteed money he's signing. So
that's the thing too, though. So it's like a running back that's picked high can potentially kind of maximize their earning based off of the rookie pay scales, but it's like most teams aren't doing that, and when they do, it's like it doesn't usually pan out, or they pay them and then they're trying to dump them, a year or two later.
Yeah, I was right. Bijan's only making $5 million average salary. Christian is 16, Alvin is 15, Derek is 12, Nick is 12, Aaron Jones is 11, Saquon Barkley is 10 now, Tony Pollard is 10.
Total cash. So I guess with this like guaranteed bonus and stuff.
Yeah. Matt Marinovich matters. Yeah, Matt Marinovich says and hasn't stepped on the foot on the field and is the second highest paid running back next to McCaffrey.
Yeah,
crazy, But yet again, you look at it from a perspective. Again, you should pay it via tier. You should just dismiss the whole entire position. Because let's be honest, what are the Giants are without Saquon Barkley? To build a plane, what are the Raiders without Josh Jacobs? What are the Chargers without Austin Eckler? What is the Browns without Nick Chubb? It's a whole different ballgame, whole different conversation, whole different level of wins you're talking when these guys are not on the field. Yeah. So you pay the guys that are top end accordingly. I just feel like that's good faith. If you want to talk about good faith versus bad faith, that's good faith. You pay the guys based upon how they contribute to your team. If you can replace them equally with a guy that you can draft that's younger than him coming into the draft, then that's fine. That's fine. Right. That's fine. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. But with their game-changing backs, you just have to dole out the money, especially when most of these guys that you were talking about, a handful of guys got rookie quarterbacks. So what are we talking about here? Why are we even having this discussion? Why you won't pay him? Because you got at least 2 to 3 years easy with no high cap number for a quarterback. So who are you paying? That sounds like to me you just stick the money in your pocket rather than pay the players the actual worth, and they get mad when they're upset. And going to the point of what I was saying about what they cannot do. When you look at people that aren't a franchise tag specifically, or people have absolute positive, guarantees in their contract, they don't have to play every game. They don't. I mean, the franchise tag is fully guaranteed the moment you sign it. So that's a guaranteed $10 million, injury and play. Like I don't have to take a snap and I get $10 million. So you can look at that from that perspective. That you want to play hardball in a sense as a totalitarian unit. You can say that we're just going to say that, you know, in that crucial moment, that crucial game, a divisional game, you know, where it's us winning division or not, all of a sudden my hamstring's kind of tight that week because, you know, I'm trying to protect myself and my abilities to earn after this moment. What can you really say? So that's leverage in its own right. So I think that's something they should look at. You know, I mean, you can get into the whole semantics and morale clauses. People say, well, that's not good. It's not being a good teammate and all that kind of stuff. But it's a business. It's a business. You got to protect your brand, and your body's your instrument. So if I'm going to protect my long-term ability to earn and set up generational wealth for myself and my family, then I got to do what I got to do. You would do the same. You know, the people that's going to criticize you for not playing are going to do the same thing in your position.
Mr. Goodell, you locked me out of the team facilities during COVID because you thought that it was going to kill everyone. So I feel a slight cough. I do not want to infect the rest of my team. I believe I need to do the right thing and sit out today.
It's funny you bring that up because a few people I've heard now getting COVID again. So you could use that as an argument. Say, you know what, my temperature's high. I don't think I should come into the facility. I need to test and I need to quarantine and just sit home for a few days.
Yeah, I need to quarantine at the Bunny Ranch. I need to quarantine at the Bunny Ranch.
That's Jimmy G's. That's Jimmy G's excuse. That's Jimmy G's.
Can't be within 6 feet though.
Yeah. So.
Well, but the NBA had their bubble. Jimmy has his bubble, right? You know.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, but sure. You know, there's things you can do. I mean, it's not a picket line, you know, grandiose gesture you can do to change the dynamic of the CBA right now. But there are little things individuals can do to affect your ability to win games. Because when that starts to change, see, we're in the offseason now. So when stuff starts to happen, you start losing games because your guy is not there and you know you need him. Then the attitude changes. Then you got to go up to the GM and say, look, we got to get something done. We got to get Josh in here. We got to get Saquon in here. We got to get Tony Pollard in here. We got to get Jonathan Taylor in here. They got to be here.
But see, that's what I was alluding to before I dipped out, is the fact that the Raiders by RBC think that 3 to 4 of these guys and that big dude, that if they're still in contract talks with him, so now you got 5 guys that can take that role, okay? And they all don't add up. I know for a fact they all don't add up. Well, I don't know for a fact. I would think that they don't add up to 10, 11, 12 million, okay, with 5 guys. Moneyball.
Right.
And that's what this is. So,
said, though. That's
right,
what he said.
But the thing is,
the guy, but let him go.
But what I'm saying is that during training camp and during preseason, granted, it's against 1s and 2s and 3s, so you might not know what you got. But if you have guys that you are transitioning and say, we're going to let you run with the 1s, and the next series you're going to run with the 1s, so you see what a running back can do against, you know, the 1s on the other team, and you keep seeing it, then you figure out, hey, we're good, or we're not good, and you know what? You might want to give Josh 13.
I think that's more likely.
Yeah,
I think the latter is more likely.
Right.
I don't think your RBC is going to give you the production.
Yeah, but you don't know that until you see it yourself, though.
No, but so what we were talking about earlier, and this is what I agree with. I can tell you with a high degree of certainty, based on Josh Jacobs' previous year's production, just over the last 3 years alone, that you are going to get within top 10 league production from him.
I agree.
Even if he's hurt.
Which he has been
It doesn't matter.
a lot. Which he has been a lot.
Yeah, see, we're not going to do that now. We're not going to pay that narrative now. They weren't saying that 2 years ago.
No.
They weren't saying he was injury prone 2 years ago.
Look, this is exactly what I was getting at, Coach. You are more than happy of taking a guy who you selected in round 4 or 1, wherever you guys end up drafting him. It doesn't matter where. It could be round 4, round 7, or round 1. Irrelevant is my point. You're happy to take a dude who was drafted in whatever round and run him into the ground. However, the point is that what these running backs are saying, and I understand and I agree with it, is when you sign a guy to a franchise tag, there are ramifications for other teams to then try to sign him away from you. And so if you want to run running back by committee, and this is where I kind of agree with the running backs right now, is fine, let us go then. And at that point, I'm then back on the owner's side to say, look, as an owner, we made a decision to move on from that guy and let him go back to the market. But what the owners are doing now is they're locking a guy down into the top end of the running back market, and they're making it so that there's further financial penalties as well as potential draft pick penalties, depending on what tag the team decides to sign him to, for trying to poach that player away from that team. And I think that that is a hindrance, a true hindrance to that running back's ability to then get paid by other teams. Josh Jacobs could have well made $13 million this year with another team.
On the open market right now,
On the open market, but the Raiders never let him do that. And I'm not trying to slander your team, Captain.
No, exactly, because the Raiders are not smart enough to let him hit the open market when they can have him for 10. And you're going to play for 10 or you're going to pull Le'Veon Bell. And I really think at the end of the day, he's going to play for 10. He's going to be pissed off.
Well, I can make 10 and not play a lot. I can also do that. Like I can play 8 games and make 10.
Just pull a Kyrie and threaten to have knee surgery or something.
Right. I'm just saying. It's ugly all the way around, and that's the one thing that's going to hurt the Raiders this year, whether he signs quick or not. The ramifications are Josh Jacobs is pissed, and when he plays, as he should be.
He should be.
And again, I no hate on Jacobs. I want Josh Jacobs on my team. I would like to have a happy Josh Jacobs on the team. I would, but I think that boat has already passed Taiwan and is in the straits, going down in the Malak, going around the other way to the Middle East. Man, that boat is so far gone. It's whatever. The one thing that the Raiders can do, like what the Giants did with Saquon, is they signed him to a 1-year deal at 12 to 13. I think it was whatever what was saying, but they can still tag him next year.
That's the only thing he messed up about. And I think that Joshua will learn from that. I think that if he's going to do anything in that realm, he should ask for no franchise tag clause in his contract.
And like I said, if the Raiders are smart, they'll put some money on the table with that 12 and 50 cent and say, and by the way, we can tag your ass next year.
But then we're right back to the same ball game again next year.
Yes.
And then what's going to happen if they do that 2 consecutive years? Then he hits the open market. They're going to be like he's too old at that point, and that's what makes it completely unfair. That's why I think they should do away with the franchise tag and in this entirety at the next CBA. That's something they should hammer home. That should be gone in the next CBA. There should be no more franchise tags.
But even like age, though, age is the only. I feel like age is only a factor in running backs.
Agreed.
Like Hopkins just got paid.
He did,
and he's 32. But
exactly.
And I think it was Eckler that said this. He's like, you could lead the league in rushing every year, and then by the time it comes to your contract, they'll be like, well, you've had 900 touches and 12,000 yards in these years. Like you're about to get hurt. We can't do that.
Exactly.
And it's like you get a receiver that's on the market who has 15,000 receiving yards in his career, and 2 ACL surgeries, flying them out.
But no, it's 2 ACL surgeries, right? Yeah. 2 ACL surgeries
and a PED suspension. Hey, come on out. Here's our facilities.
Right.
Like we're gonna make it. So it's like every position, age is not a factor as long as you're producing. But running back, it's like if you produce, it ruins your value.
It's like I got to produce to get paid, but you're going to use that as a punishment. It's weird.
And who it really impacts is guys like Eckler or Pacheco, that are these undrafted 7th round picks Pacheco signed a 4-year deal and he could ball out for the next 4 years. But by the time he's done, he's going to be 30 and only $4 million.
Get out of here! Get out of here!
There's another point that they should look for long term that they should change as well, and this just for running backs. If this a trend is going to continue slightly, if not completely, they should allow running backs to come out a year earlier in college. The 3-year rule should not apply to running backs.
Yeah, I saw that, and I said, if they are physically up for it, because remember, what's his nose? I played for the USFL for the Breakers. Can't remember his name. He wanted to come out. Also, the kid that played for Nebraska that did come out and went to that team, okay, tried to come out a year early. If they can do it and they can put it in there, I firmly believe, yeah, let them do it. And again, you would have to have the physical stamina in order to take it, but you're banking on yourself. And if you can do it, fine. And again, I am not anti Josh Jacobs. I don't know why everybody's saying I'm not. It's just that this is a bad deal all the way around. The only way that this is going to be good for the Raiders is if he plays this year and they are good enough to at least be competitive in a playoff possibility realm. Okay, that they don't totally suck, and then it would be like we're right there, Josh, and we need you to put us over the top. Okay.
And my answer is, why would I?
I'm just saying that's the only thing.
That is a fair point.
My answer as Josh Jacobs to your Raiders is
that is a fair point.
Is why on God's green earth,
with no incentive long term, would I do that?
Long term, would I help you go to hell?
2 years.
Yeah.
And that's why I said a 3-year deal, 2 guaranteed is how I would have done it if I was with them. I know that. I got you, man. That's what they should have done. And they let that opportunity go away. Remember, 3-year 36, first 2 guaranteed at 25 total. That's how Captain Jack would have done it. And I think it would have been it would have said, here's what you're looking for. There's the 12-5, which would be really good. Okay. Yeah, Marcus Dupree. Thanks, Mike. That's what it is. But they didn't do it. And so they're going to live and die on how they effed up the situation.
Right. But my point is that if the Raiders this season are in a spot as you described, though, so what I'm trying to drive home here is the Raiders in that situation are effectively attempting to have their cake and eat it too.
Oh yeah,
and
I like cake.
Yeah, and
we know.
And my point is that if I'm Jacobs, I'm like, no, I'm good. You told me exactly how you felt about me when I came to you, not looking to break the bank or have you go to the ATM 4 times in the same evening. I came to you with a very reasonable, affordable, appropriate salary given my production and the fact that I have produced for you not only multiple years in a row when our team hasn't done amazing, but I also led the league in rushing and did a whole bunch of other great things that basically put me atop the league. And I didn't come to you looking for $15 to $20 million a year. I came to you looking for 12 to 13.
No, actually 12-3, and they said no, and they effed up.
Right. And so like that in and of itself is literally 2 tall cans in the air.
And that is why I firmly believe that if and when he does sign this year, you remember how you said they're going to sign him for 12 or whatever it is, and he's not going to play a lot? That's going to happen anyway. They're going to hedge their bets. I said, we paid him. He's in camp. He's here. But, oh, by the way, we really need to see what we got with Zeus White. We really need to see what we got with Sincere McCormick. And then they're going to figure out whether good, bad, or indifferent, because next year, running back will be higher on the list of draftees, or anybody that is a free agent that gets the Dalvin Cook or not Dalvin Cook, gets the money that the kid from the Bengals got, Joe Mixon. Oh, well, yeah, we'll sign you for $6 a year because that's a bargain.
Well, he took a pay cut.
Yeah.
He took a pay cut.
Well, he also had some like cops came to his house or something.
Yeah,
he had some legal issue.
Yeah, he had some issues.
But I had a question, Kat, or maybe for Chat too. But you think if Gruden was still the coach, you think that Jacobs would have been like he'd be in this situation? You think he would have signed him? Paid him.
He would have been paid, and because he's a Mayock guy, and it's the regime change. It's the Cheatriot way.
Mhm.
It's the Cheatriot way. That's the way it is. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not pushing the program over too, but
I don't disagree that is their way, but at some point, in order for you to replace the league rusher, you have to have done something.
Big shoes.
Yeah, like I wear size 14 shoes. You've met me in person, Captain. I am not a short person. and I have big feet. And in order to fill those shoes, you have to have big feet too. Josh Jacobs has got an awful lot of yards to make up for that running back by committee.
And I don't think that anybody
think they can.
Yeah, I don't think anybody feels warm and fuzzy about the idea that the running back by committee is going to be able to do that.
And again, you're going to see the results one way or the other. We'll see them this year, and we're going to see how right or how wrong the people that put up to this are.
Now I'm going to switch gears here a little bit, Coach, and I want, on the same vein, I want to bring up a guy like Eckler, because a guy like Eckler is not Josh Jacobs.
No, not from a prototypical running back perspective.
No, he's just not.
Yeah.
And so this is where things get really interesting, and this is where I think this conversation can really become fascinating, actually. So and I want to throw another name into the mix, Coach, because I do kind of want this to kind of factor in, and Alex, this goes for you too. I'd like to hear your feedback. So let's look at a Christian McCaffrey. When healthy, he's been heavily abused when he was in Carolina, but when he's healthy and has a team that can actually, block for him, he seems to be a type of guy that can actually do quite well, right? He can run well, he can pass catch well, and he can pass block fairly well. Not great, but fairly well. And then you flip the page and look over to a guy like Josh Jacobs, who can run exceptionally well, can pass block exceptionally well, and can pass catch well enough to look really good. Now, that's in part because of the team. I think if you actually look at Jacobs when he's actually caught the ball, I think he's probably at an elite level across all three. If I'm going to be honest, that's just kind of my take on him. Now,
if I had to knock him, I would say he's not as highly skilled from a receiving back perspective
he's not
than Eckler and CMC.
He's not a route runner. Like CMC is literally a wide receiver and a running back in one player.
Him and Eckler.
Yeah, and Eckler is a very similar.
And Kamara.
Yeah.
Now, here's the kicker, though. Eckler cannot run between the tackles like a Josh Jacobs can. Eckler can also not run between the tackles even like Christian McCaffrey can. I'm sorry. He doesn't have the same skill set. Let's put it this way. Eckler's a notch below McCaffrey when it comes to that sort of thing. So I guess my whole point here is, while we're talking about these running backs, Eckler, Jacobs, Henry, etc., you are talking with a fairly wide degree of variance between their overall skill sets. Now, curious as to the panel and the chat, what do we think about what is valued more in today's NFL?
The passing game.
That's a good question.
Is it an Eckler? Is it a Jacobs? Or is it a McCaffrey? And or why is a guy like Henry, who is, by all accounts, we have to give the devil his due. He is still legit.
Oh yeah. Oh, no question about that. No, that's an argument. No, we're not arguing that, are we? That's an argument. That's not an argument.
So I guess the question is,
those are all different types of backs.
I was going to say that you're talking about skill set. You're talking about elusive back and versus power back. It's a different dynamic here.
Who ought get paid in today's NFL?
Who gets paid first?
Yes.
Okay. I would pay Chris McCaffrey first.
Yeah, I agree.
Easy one.
Yeah.
He can do it all.
Yeah,
he can do it all.
Well,
I'll pay Chris McCaffrey first.
Yeah, because you can he's like while they're on the same team, but kind of like Debo, right? Like he can do, maybe not to the same degree. He's a better runner, but Panthers paid him because they had no offense without him. So
True.
and he also got paid that money like the same time Gurley did, and then McVay said, "I'm never paying a running back again." And
right.
then it just like everyone started doing that. So
yeah, exactly.
Because I mean, I just don't think that teams, and I mean, obviously they don't because we're talking about it, but I think teams as a whole just don't like value running backs like that. Like, don't value to have
the traditional the traditional bell cow, the traditional bell cow. Yes.
Yeah. And
Cool, Cam.
like,
Let's cool the Jets here. Austin Eckler is way better than Danny Woodhead. Let's stop that madness now. Let's cut the crap.
Danny Woodhead.
He's not. Austin Eckler is way better than Danny Woodhead. Let's just cut it out. Anyhow,
former Charger.
Yeah, it is. That's how I know. That's how I know. But yeah, again, you know, like you said, the prototypical. It really just depends. I won't call them relics, but it depends on what team's philosophy is. Like the Browns are a power running team, so they need a Nick Chubb because he fits the bill of what they want to do offensively.
Yeah, but
now if you're more of a,
are they going to pay Nick Chubb?
Well, he's been paid. He's been paid. He's on his extension now. So will he get paid again? I doubtful. But again, that's he is the prototype for their system. You know, so if Christian McCaffrey is a prototype because I can deploy him in so many ways and Shanahan's system. You know, same thing with when Kamara and Peyton. He was a prototype for him because I can deploy him in so many different ways. And I can utilize him in so many different facets. You really don't know exactly where he's going to be at any given moment. You know, so it just depends on what the system is. And teams are more leaning to the idea of being, I want to say 65-35 pass versus run more so now.
Well, and you're seeing a lot more teams that are like RPOs and quick bubbles and things like so like the Chiefs, right? They're a quick bubble is their way of like running inside zone for 3 yards. You know, they'll run inside zone too, but you know, they don't need to. And it's like I feel like you're like you said, the Browns, Ravens used to be like that, but I feel like they're a different way.
They're pivoting because of Monken of the new OC.
So, I mean, there's not that many hard
prototypicals, right? Yeah,
and then you got like the
Titans still are.
Yeah. And they paid their guy. You know, those teams paid their guys. Didn't let them sit around.
Right.
So this is the whole point of why I think this conversation is such an interesting one. And it's what type of running back from the prototypical bell cow to the old school running back, which was just running the ball, to like a CMC, to like, I would argue Christian McCaffrey's more of your I can do it all Swiss Army knife. I would argue Debo is that Swiss Army knife kind of style too. Eckler he can't be put in those situations, in my opinion, where he can pass pro because he's not that good at it. He's not awful, but he's not that good at it. And you can't put him on the field for all situations because he can't do all of the things like a McCaffrey can. But then you end up with guys that can't pass catch at all. So they're almost equally as limited as, say, a guy, in my opinion, kind of like an Eckler, who isn't going to pass block, but then another guy who can only run the ball isn't going to be there to catch the ball out of the backfield. So then, therefore, you don't have to like account for that as part of your defensive scheme. So I think it's a fascinating position group because there is such a wide array of different types of guys. Now, I don't want to hijack the conversation here because I do want to quickly do a quick roundtable on the whole game integrity thing. But another interesting one that has really taken a similar hit, but no one's talking about, is inline pass blocking tight ends. All the running backs are getting all the love about how they're devalued and all the things, but yet the traditional tight end, like the legitimate traditional tight end that we're all old enough or young enough, depending on how you want to word it, to remember those old school browbeating tight ends that were not like a Shannon Sharp, like the ones that were, helmet crackers and that kind of stuff. They are devalued just as heavily as running backs are. They just are. They're getting paid peanuts. Similar to the fullback position.
You blame Travis Kelce for that.
Right. And the other thing is that, again, because the league became a passing league, this ties in. Running backs are devalued. blocking tight ends are devalued. Other positions that, you don't have John Mackey, and if you don't know who John Mackey is, or Mike Ditka, okay, look them up type thing. Those guys they don't exist, or they do. They do exist, but they're the third tight end on the team.
Right. Yep.
They're the third tight end on the team because
or it's just an extra tackle.
Right. The number one tight end is the guy that's going to be your pass catching threat. The number two tight end is the one that does both pretty good,
but not
so that
great.
you can, not great, but he can block and he can catch. So he's the number two tight end, and the number three tight end is the dude that's going to
block.
Who can block, and if
he's on PAT.
If he catches a pass, that's like a $500,000 signing bonus thing. That's an extra thing. Okay, that's the way it is, but that's why you have 1, 2, and 3 tight ends on the team, because there's usually 3, and that's what happens. They're devalued because the league became. You can't hit the quarterback. You can't do this. You can't bump and run. And when they took out the defense, and I know Coach is pissed about this, when they took the defense out of the game in the 80s.
Not the 80s.
It was mid 90s.
No. I would say more like the 2010s.
No, I'm talking about the start of it. It was like the 83 year with quarterbacks. They started seeing what Elway, what Marino, what those guys had to offer, and then the crop shortly after that, right? When they saw what these guys were going to do, they're like, "Wow!"
They were the face of the league. They started,
and we're going to start, and they stopped bump and run.
Oh, okay. They
the transition was in the 80s.
I agree.
The full, oh my God, there is no defense, is the friggin' basketball game on a turf, okay, where they're running up and down the field, except they got to throw the ball instead of dribble, right? Because that's what football has become. It's become a throw the ball, a basketball game on turf, because they run up and down the field, okay? There's no defense.
Now. Yeah, it's almost a shame if you can't score points now, because it's so easy to score. But I wouldn't disrespect the Ravens, even the Broncos defense, the Super Bowl year, Seattle's defense and things of that nature. Those top end defenses still were prevalent. And to DZ's point, the mid-2000s towards the mid-2010s, even Tom Brady said it. He said the league, when he first got in and the way it pivoted halfway through, where, he would say that he would throw over the middle.
To him.
Yeah, it went right. Exactly. The rules they put in place for him.
Thanks to his injury.
Right. So those things started to pivot the rule changes and made the league more offensively driven. Was I think the 2000s can be the victim of that more so when you had dramatic rule changes. To your point, they started to chip away at it in the 80s and 90s, and they really made when they had to pay that settlement in that concussion suit. That was the start of it.
No,
that was the start of it.
No, do you know what it was? In my opinion, you had the guys like Marino, Elway, and then obviously later you had Tom Brady. But Elway and Marino were effectively models in sports. And that's when you really started to get women that started to say, wait a minute, this whole football thing. No, you think I'm joking,
now we're talking really marketing. Not. Yeah, we're more so talking marketing. I'm talking about rule changes, but yeah, I'm with you.
I'm being dead serious.
I'm with you. I'm with you on it. I'm with you.
Yeah, as long as John didn't smile, because
then he looked like a horse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And thank you for saying what I was thinking.
At least he's honest, right?
Yeah,
At least he's honest, right?
Not to disrespect John Elway, but what he said.
Right,
what
there
he
you go.
said.
The dude was a hell of a football player, and as long as he kept his mouth shut,
no disrespect, just don't smile.
Just don't smile, John. Just stay there. Don't even crack a grin, man. We want you to look like like an Adonis statue. Don't even put a smirk on your face, because your teeth are gonna jump out at us.
Yeah. But I agree, but at the end of the day, I think what ultimately happened is you ended up with a lot of the rules that changed to favor the quarterback, because you started to have the pretty boy style quarterbacks that were in commercials with the underwear ads and the other things that started to attract a female audience, much like you saw with, football, or sorry, not with football, with soccer and some of the other sports, where you ended up with, even movie stars. You started to see the football players get intertwined with Hollywood more and more. And then you started to get kind of the celebrity status that some of these football players started to attain. And it actually did start allowing them to creep into pop culture. Pop culture eventually turned into more a much richer and deeper female fan base as well, which is not a bad thing. I think it's wonderful to have a complete, robust fan base. But at the same time, the male audience was like violence and anger. And then the female fan base is like, well, if my son plays that, I don't want him to get cracked in the head. And it almost became a bit of a kind of a catch-22, which is the original sport was meant to be violent, but then they wanted to kind of appease both sides. And as a result, you ended up with the softer version of the game that we all kind of initially grew up and loved to start with. Ladies and gentlemen, one last thing I do want to cover off on the show, because I think it is just very fitting given this week's news. And that is a quick roundtable discussion on gambling from NFL players and the potential impact that has on the integrity of the game. I think a lot of fans don't fully appreciate what it can mean to the integrity of the game. And I believe, DZ, I don't disagree. I truly believe that a lot of fans don't appreciate why the league has such harsh policies on gambling. It is so much more than, why shouldn't they be able to make side money and that sort of thing. You can literally end up in a very slippery slope where you have certain players that have bet crazy amounts of money who can potentially throw plays and do bad things in order to win money to make up the difference. That's kind of my general take on some of this. I think the one guy that I'm interested in hearing from all of you is Coach Defense on this. I have a funny feeling, Coach, you and I may agree more than we disagree on this topic, and I'm curious as to your take.
So let me be clear on what your stance is. So you think that gambling should be allowed for players? Is that what you're saying?
I think it should be banned. In fact, if it was up to me, there would be permanent bans. Not this in a year you can come back.
Okay.
I believe in harsher penalties. I believe gambling. Okay. I'm of the opinion, I believe the NFL is too soft on it because I think that it has such bad potential for ramifications for negative things that it should be so, under no circumstances will I ever do the thing. That is how severe I think the penalty should be, because I think that it has the potential. And by the way, my stance also includes the refs and the owners. I think they should all be held to the same
I'm glad
thing.
you said that, because my opinion is actually staunchly different. And I'm trying to be quick on this. I think that they set themselves up for this because they allowed gambling in their facilities and they promote it now. So I think you really open the door for this particular aspect of it by going through the idea once it became legalized in most states. The idea of it being promoted, it being sponsored, the league being sponsored by gambling sites and sports books and things of that nature. Hell, some teams I believe got sports books in their facilities.
Yep.
In the stadiums. So you open yourself up to that. So again, the idea of them being harsh and being sticklers to the players only, because like you said, you don't hear the refs in the news, the owners, the GMs, the front office people, anybody that's it ties to the organization, they're not privy to these penalties. So the players are getting the short end of the stick, in my opinion. Now, ironically, when it comes down to, they have the most to gain or lose because they can affect the game. So that's a sticky situation as well, because you have to realize that because that's exactly why Calvin really got in trouble, because he bet on his own game. I think that that part is that's the dirty pool of it, because you bet on your own game and you're playing in your own game. So again, you have it's literally the idea of shading points when it comes to basketball and things of that nature. When people got paid back in the day to shade points so they can cover the spread, that kind of thing. So that particular aspect of it. So they kind of set themselves up for this, in my opinion. I think they need to revamp the rulings. I think that as long as you don't bet on your own game or in the NFL period, then that's one thing. But if I should be able to bet on college, I should be able to bet on hockey, tennis, whatever, anything else outside of my sport. Outside of my sport. If I don't bet on the NFL, that's one thing. While I'm in season, if I don't bet on the NFL, that's fine. But I should be able to bet on basketball or anything else. Now, I shouldn't be pigeonholed to that. It's legal. It's
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I'm gonna quickly say two people. Okay, Alex Karras and Paul Hornung were banned for a year because of gambling in the early to mid 60s, right? And they're all pros at the time, Hall of Famers eventually, and they were taken out of the league for a year. These are Hall of Fame, all pros, people that made marks, right? And they were banned for a year. Okay. Now the NFL's like, well, if you're one of our stars, because they had the people that would say, well, they're only they're better players. We're only going to suspend them for like 3 games. And the guys who are Joe Schlabotniks, they're gone for a year. What's going to happen is when somebody of a big name gets touched upon, then you're going to see that they're going to have to make a decision and they screwed up. I'm sorry. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I would literally limit it to the sport you play. Like outside of that, you should better bet on anything you want.
Yeah.
You just don't bet on the sport you play.
I think some of the guys the
leagueable sport you play. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think some of the Lions players weren't necessarily betting on NFL
games.
They were just betting in an NFL facility.
Right.
And that's why they got 6 games and stuff less. I think your Ridleys and the Broncos guy and the Colts guy, I think were straight up betting on on NFL games. And I mean, hell, you look at Pete Rose, right? Like he's
still out in the Hall of Fame because he gambled, right? Still in the Hall of Fame.
And that's effed up.
It is. I agree with that. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they should be allowed to gamble, especially when you got all these leagues promoting gambling, and you got fantasy and FanDuel and all this other stuff. But
it's the same.
I do think.
So sorry,
I mean, you can't. I agree with.
Can you clarify that? What are your limits on where you think the players should be allowed to gamble? Because I have a very clear understanding on where Coach is at. I have a fairly clear understanding of Cap. I'm just curious to kind of where you land on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think from what I've seen, and I think that was part of the problem, was the league was kind of ambiguous about how they were going to handle these things. I mean, I think as long as they're not because you can do it on your phone now, especially, I mean, in Missouri, you can do it on your phone, and pretty much, I think, anywhere, almost. But I mean, I think the league's policy is more of you can gamble on things outside of the NFL as long as you're not doing it at a team facility, at a team event, things like that. Which I think that's fine, because it's like it's your money. If you want to blow 10,000 betting on the Lakers to win, do it. But I think that's about the best way you can go about separating that from the league and keeping the image of holding the integrity while also kind of not restricting everything. I mean, I kind of, to me, it's common sense. Like, don't bet on the damn league you play in. Like, that's just stupid. But
I would also argue have your friend do it. Like, if you want to bet on a game, have your friend do it. Why are you excited into your account?
Did. That's what the Colts guy did. Have his friend.
Oh, did he?
They still found out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So just to be clear, what my take is and how it might differ from some of you. Under no circumstance, regardless of who bets, should any player in the NFL be able to bet on an NFL game.
No.
Yeah.
Because, in my opinion, there's too many factors in here. As an example, Derrick Henry's friend will know if he's hurt or not, for example, and it's like, well, he can't do this and he can't do that, blah, blah, blah.
So I'm going to bet against the Titans that week.
It's an all or nothing thing.
These guys are too interconnected now.
Yeah. That's inside information. That's stuff that they do.
Yeah.
Insider trading.
Yeah.
Insider trading.
Yeah, it's basically like insider trading for stocks and stuff like that, right?
I agree.
Exactly.
Yep.
Now, where I am far more lenient on these players is if these leagues are going to have betting facilities at the stadium, they should be leveraging the players and saying, go bet on other things. Like, I don't care if Wazirike decides to go and bet on college football.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
That's not the NFL. Now, is a guy that's fresh out of college going to have some insider information on some of the college players? Yeah, that's the risk you
Possible.
run. But guess what? I'm just a normal dude, and I happen to have known 3 different NHL players who were in the NHL level, and I knew enough about enough that if I were to be more in tune with the NHL, I probably could have done a lot better when I bet. Right? But that's the thing. You're always going to have circumstances and situations where you're going to know a guy who knows a guy, or your friend of a friend of a friend happens to know somebody on that particular team, or whatever the case may be, where you could potentially get an edge.
Yeah, we need to rest investigator DZ. I'm with you there.
Right.
We need them followed.
The only non-crooked ref is Ref Guru.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah. But
Bingo.
But again, I think that this is where the refs becoming full-time employees is such an important thing in the NFL. I think that this is another thing where coaches and owners should be falling right within the same,
Yeah, you need to be held to the same standard. You should be held to the same standard. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. So that's really my big thing is I don't think anyone in the NFL should be able to bet on NFL games, period.
No.
And I think the penalties should be much harsher than a 1 year, like, you're out.
Yeah, 1 year is it's almost like a death sentence in certain people's cases.
No, I want it more.
Yeah. I mean, I would bet the Broncos guy and the Lions guy, like Cephas or whatever, and the Colts guy. I bet you don't see any 3 of those guys in the league ever again.
Very possible.
Like,
with their 1 year ban.
If you're an NFL player and you come into the league as of 2024, I would want you kicked out for 3 years, no reinstatement, if you bet on NFL games.
That's the lifespan of an NFL player anyway.
Good. Now, don't do it. Sit down, shut up, and play your sport.
Yeah.
That's my point. And by the way, I would want an owner banned from his facilities for 3 years.
If he was caught.
Yeah.
If he was caught. I would want a ref kicked out of the league for 3 years if they were caught.
No, the ref should be banned, period.
I was going to say, if not banned from the league, who's in an officiating position, undermine the integrity of the game that badly, because you're going to always then have questions if they've been paid off or whatever the case may be, because they've already proven that they are kind of shady to begin with. So that's just not a good look for the league. But I mean, these are all things I think are so important for the NFL. There's so much money in this league that we all love that you cannot undermine it with this kind of nonsense. I'm sorry, you just can't.
Agreed.
You just can't. That's my general take. So my thing is, it should be banned outright, full stop. And man, it should just be harsh. I mean, like, throw away the key, make them pay, because it is such an egregious potential. And these guys that are rookies, they could be betting $200,000, and they could know something that could then turn around and make more than what their salary is for that year as a rookie, depending on what the odds of the bet are.
Oh my God, these
What these are.
Not that one. Not that one. Definitely not that one. I can't even post it. I can't even click on it. I can't do it.
Nah. The only ref that is allowed to do that is the chick. Sarah what's her nose.
Oh, okay. All right, well, there it is.
That's it.
Well, that's an Arby's thing. But anyways, guys, I think I really do think that the gambling thing when you see it on the NFL.com, I've always felt that they haven't given the real emphasis in the right places when they've reported on it. It just seems to be, oh, and by the way, this happened. And I really do think that it's really important as fans that we give the league credit where credit's due for getting players who are betting on games when they ought not do it. And I also think that it's really, really important that the league perhaps even consider making those penalties harsher. I cannot stand, accusations of a league that I enjoy watching for not doing the right thing. Because I would much rather have a league go too far to do the right thing than to not go far enough and have questions. I think that it's better to go a little overboard to prove that you believe in the integrity of your sport rather than not go far enough. But anyways, guys, we've had a great show tonight. A lot of ground covered. More importantly, man, are we ever going to have a ton of stuff to cover for next week's show when we get right through the thick of all the camps and again getting into additional signings and changes and all that sort of stuff. I would very much appreciate you guys to leave comments below these videos. Click those like buttons. That really helps us in the algorithm with all the social media sites. We want more and more fans of the AFC West to join us live. I have studio control, and so do most of the other folks, and others would as well if they signed in a different way.
Need the password again.
I didn't call you out, my man. You just sold yourself. I left.
I did.
Anthony, I did see your comment, and I did see Kelsey tried to give T Swift a bracelet. I thought that was pretty funny. He talked about that on his podcast actually, which is I thought was pretty funny. He got roasted.
Yeah. That's yeah. Anyways, good for him. Anyways, guys, next show we're going to cover a lot of the camp stuff. We're going to cover a lot of the things that have come out of camp in terms of certain players that have shown out, certain players that have not. Things that were interesting that maybe we got from beat reporters and from some of our sources. We're going to cover all of those things next week for you on the Wild Wild West podcast. And until next week, where the West Side is the best side. Peace!
Yeah!
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.